Well, the Knicks broke out the brooms and they proceeded to whack the Cavaliers upside the head with it as New York won Game 4 130-93 and sweep the Eastern Conference Finals. Cavs head coach Kenny Atkinson, how you have to give the Knicks their due for what they did.
They're playing great basketball. Got to give them credit. They're on a heater. They're in a groove. Just got to give them a ton of credit. Congrats to Mike and their staff. And I don't want to go and detract from our, what we've done this postseason. I just sometimes you got to give the other team credit for playing great basketball.
Karl-Anthony Towns double-double, 19 points, 14 rebounds. New York reaches the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999. Knicks have won 11 straight games in these playoffs. Donovan Mitchell led the Cavs 31 points. Evan Mobley with 15. James Harden had 12 points but went scoreless in the second half. Guardians last night lose to the Nationals 10-2. Tanner Bybee allowed 7 runs on 8 hits, including 5 home runs in just 3 innings. The 5 homers allowed by Bybee matched a franchise record. Washington finished the game with 6 homers, only runs for the Guardians. Solo home run by Rhys Hoskins and an RBI double from Angel Martinez. Guardians put relief pitcher Eric Sabrowski on the 15-day injury list. Inflammation in his left elbow. The Guardians showing caution with Sabrowski. He's had Tommy John surgery not once but twice. In 25 appearances this season, Zabrowski has been rock solid, 2-1, a 1.71 ERA. Guardians filled the roster spot by recalling pitcher Cody Hoyer from AAA Columbus. Browns back on the practice field today, begin the second week of organized team activities. Today's going to be the first of 3 OTAs this week in Berea. They will also practice tomorrow and Thursday. Next week will include 4 workouts leading into mandatory minicamp that begins Tuesday, June 9th. You can now find 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 92.3 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 92.3 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas. Up next time for the Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima here on 92.3 The Fan.
Catch Afternoon Drive with Nick Wilson and Jonathan Peterlin live on YouTube each and every weekday from 2 to 7 p.m. The Ken Carman Show with Anthony Lima.
Brunson gets free, fakes, goes inside, lays it up and in. And the Cavs just stopped playing on that possession.
They stopped playing the possession before that.
Chance of let's go Knicks. It's over. Believe it, Knicks fans, for the first time in 27 years, the New York Knicks are going to the NBA Finals.
I don't want to go and detract from our, what we've done this postseason. I think sometimes you got to give the other team credit for playing great basketball.
Yeah, it was 4-0, but I don't think we had a chance as far as our best shot from a standpoint of the circumstances. Obviously they dominated us 4-0. Yeah, I don't know if I can necessarily answer that question. Just because genuinely I do feel like we are the better team. Series-wise, it didn't show it. So
we did this to ourselves, and that's not an excuse. They're a hungry team. They beat us, swept us. So I don't want to diminish that, but we didn't give ourselves a chance because we didn't have no business. And I told them guys in the locker room, I said, now we know. For a lot of us who've never been here, you can't play with your food. We had an opportunity to close both series and give ourselves some rest, and we weren't. And then obviously there's things in this series you can point to, whether it's turnovers, defense, whatever. But you got to be able to give yourself a chance. And we had an opportunity in Game 1, and then we blew that.
This is Cleveland Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
Audio courtesy ESPN. Was a disgusting way to end a promising season.
Was it promising, Kenny? Because
I thought it was for the most part.
Well, I thought so too. But after recalibrating, talking to the people of Northeast Ohio over the last few days.
They're mad right now, and they should be. But
they were never in the same boat that they thought this was promising. The most frequent response I've gotten on either social media or in real life was, this was one of the worst teams to root for ever.
Why?
You'll have to ask the people of Northeast Ohio.
That trade, and we got a lot of time to get into it. That trade for James Harden, there's something about him that, man, people just can't stand. People just hate. I don't. We'll have to ask a couple people as time goes on. I have to ask fans as time goes on. It's a disgusting way to end the season, without a doubt. I'm disappointed. I was upset. The thing became a Knicks pep rally over basically the entire second half. I know that some Cleveland celebrities try to get people going as best they could, but basically it became a Knicks takeover. That's the way it goes. I mean, you lost. You got swept 4-0. You have a team that hasn't been to the NBA Finals since 98. Was it 98? They went to the Finals in the strike shortened year? 99. Strike shortened year. You have a team there that has obviously a very massive fan base. New York City, Mecca basketball, the whole thing. Knicks did a hell of a job. Jalen Brunson's a hell of a player. Credit where it's due. It was a terribly embarrassing way to finish the year. You could say they're out of gas. They're still pros. You're still at home. It was still ugly. And I think that that's part of the reason why some people were feeling that way. Now, that said, the question of the day is going to be for everybody, should they blow it up? And my answer is no. As disappointed as I am, as upset as I am, as embarrassing as that game was, and it was without a doubt embarrassing, I don't think that it's blow-up time for this basketball team. I have my reasons, and I'll tell you why.
You don't want to go to Washington Wizards land?
No.
You don't. You're telling me
that's basically reasons A through Z.
Brooklyn Nets land?
Because when we say, like, if you're saying it and you're mad, guys, I get it. But if we're just saying blow it up, like if you're still saying blow it up at the end of this week, then I don't think you guys know what you're getting into. And I think the ones that are mad, by the end of today or tomorrow or even the next day, maybe they'll calm down a little bit and understand what you're jumping into. Because when you blow it up, you're committing to something that is going to take at least 4 years probably just to get back to the play-in games. And that's Siberia. I mean, you're asking for Siberia. And even then, thank God you have a committed owner who's willing to do whatever it takes to go out and get a championship there. But you really have nothing in the kitty right now. Like, you have to see this through. And what you have is a team that is probably, as of right now, not cut out to win an NBA Finals. And I still have to try to see this thing through because I know the alternative is unwatchable basketball. Yesterday was unwatchable. I understand that. That was terrible. So it's a terrible joke to make almost, even though I wasn't trying to make a joke. It's terrible to see, but it's true. I mean, you're going to go back to 19-win land. You're going to go back to ping-pong ball land, even though the rules are different. When it comes to blowing it up, I think there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with me today. I'm ready for that. That's fine. But I think by the end of the week, we should probably calm down and go, hold on here. I mean, what we might be advocating for it probably is a little bit crazy.
Well, you don't even own your first-round picks for a while still.
No.
You have pick swaps, and it's not as if you could say, hey, let's just be bad. And, of course, they changed the lottery rules. So
yeah,
they're not blowing this up. They very easily could be primed to still make massive moves. They are going to be in the heart of a lot of the gigantic NBA offseason discussions.
Yep.
So maybe there'll be some excitement for that. Maybe, on the other hand, there'll be some people who'll be like, oh, I don't know. Cleveland has made some big trades in recent years, and those have not worked out. So maybe they will want to at least stand pat. But, of course, standing pat delivered you a team that apparently to a lot of people was miserable. So not oftentimes in sports you get to the Final Four of your sport and have people be miserable, but I can't argue with fans anymore. They're miserable. Like, holy cow, are they miserable. I tried to sit here and talk to people and lecture and tell people why it's exciting to be in the Final Four. But when the team does get annihilated and doesn't look like they belong on the same floor in the final 3 games, and really the final 3 games in 8 minutes of the series,
yeah,
what leg do I have to stand on?
Well,
that was not fun.
With the way they got their heads kicked in for the final 3 games of the season or the series, I don't think that we would have won the series had we won game 1. That pointed out.
I don't think so either.
That pointed out, it certainly would have been. We would still be getting ready for another game, and I don't think it would have been the type of onslaught avalanche against you that has been over the last 3 games.
Do you think more than 15 people would have showed up for the party in the plaza, whatever that was yesterday?
I didn't see the party in the plaza.
Well, you didn't see it because
I'm sorry.
You didn't see it because there was no party. There were more people in line to go to the Guardians game.
Oh, really?
Oh boy, yeah. Knicks. The New York media was all over that over the last few days.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
Well, because you saw, like in Madison Square Garden, there were thousands of people. In Toronto, thousands of people. Cleveland, not so much. They were out, Kenny. People told me they were out on this team, and I debated
can't deny
them,
the truth.
And
I can't deny the truth.
I said, well, the season ticket holders and the people that took the buses to Detroit, they were not. They had their Game 7 win in Detroit felt like the Super Bowl to them.
Well, then what is it? Why didn't they like him all year? Why didn't they like him? That's the worst question. Honestly, it's the worst question to ask. I got to get it off my chest just 1 minute in. Give me 1 minute. Tell me why you don't think they didn't like him. Was it the Harden trade?
I think that was they loved Darius Garland.
Yeah, but I used to sit here and have shouting matches with people on the radio about how this team is better with Darius Garland. That's why I'm so surprised. Like, they're not better with Darius Garland instead of James Harden, but before, when like Darius Garland would get hurt and we had these insane conversations with other people who just did not fill the bill and why they were better without Darius Garland. I mean, do we not remember the conversation that happened around the Heat series just last year? That was a calendar year ago. Like, we've already forgotten that.
Oh, and people thought they might be better with Ty Jerome?
Yeah, with Ty Jerome as the point guard. We should get rid of Darius Garland. And now, 1 year later, it's this team is unwatchable because there's no Darius Garland. They weren't even excited about They weren't excited about this team when Darius Garland was on it. So I don't even want to hear that. Like, they started out 17-16, and it was just this big like malaise of last year.
Well, yeah, remember they gave up the huge lead on Christmas Day. Then they got shellacked
and that
by
was
Houston.
Bad. All that was bad, and then they traded for James Harden. And I don't think that James Harden is a beloved figure in the city by any means. I know that they try to give away the beard stuff and try to have some fun with it. He's not beloved by any means by any fan base out there. Okay, fine. But you can't tell me the difference between likability and not liking them is Darius Garland. I don't believe it. I think that there's some people coming out of the woodwork now that were pro Darius Garland who don't remember what was said on this show before last year. But still, I look at this and go, that can't be the sole reason of it. What is it? Why is it? Why are we holding them to an unrealistic standard of what we've seen in Cavs past? Or do they just know that they're not good enough and that's it? Or are we just not the type of basketball town that we thought we were? I mean, there's 1,000 different reasons for it. I can't put my finger on it. But yeah, when I'm seeing, I just saw this literally seconds ago. I'm sure that's what Keith's texting about. 90 seconds ago, I'm seeing nobody like excited outside the arena. And I go, it wasn't like that. In 2007, the place was packed. It was a sea of humanity back there. And that was a long time ago. So what is it? What happened?
Is it just that you don't have LeBron? You don't have LeBron,
well, guys,
and teams with LeBron.
One way or the other, he ain't going to be here after a while, so we got to move on.
Teams with LeBron just dance through the Eastern Conference, which is funny because a lot of people said, "Oh, too much drama with LeBron." Like, honestly, the Cavs did not have any drama this year. Donovan Mitchell, there was no drama. Like, these guys are like really, really good guys. Even this version of James Harden.
The most dramatic thing that happened this year was Rich Paul afterwards just saying what everybody knew.
Yeah.
Was that they were going to ask for a trade with Darius Garland.
Yeah,
there was no drama, quote unquote, other than that.
Oh, well, James Harden's going to bring drama. And then meanwhile, everybody said James Harden just was literally the first guy to show up. People were like, I didn't realize he worked so hard. Of course, you wouldn't know it by the 3-point shooting at the end of the series where he couldn't buy a basket. But like, there was no drama. So I think what bothered me the most is there was always a but when it came to why people weren't going to feel good about the team. But eventually, I can't argue with people. Like, your visceral feelings are your visceral feelings. And if you hate watching something, then you hate watching something. My whole point is, you know what I hate watching are teams that are irrelevant and had no chance to even get out of a first round or a play-in. Like, that's what I hate. Yeah. Well, I guess other people like the struggle. They like a plucky underdog, although we were underdogs in this series, massive underdogs actually by the end of it. I guess that was part of it. Like, I asked people on social media, it'll never not be weird to me that you fall in love with the Sexton Garland teams that had zero chance and didn't accomplish anything. Well, this team gets to the Final Four and you hate this team. You hate their guts.
There's a reason behind that. And you know that reason is that they were drafted guys. I mean, people always love their own guys drafted like they're their own children. So that I can actually understand. That's the one tinge to it I can understand. Other than that, unless people are just looking at the internet, I mean, James Harden is the easiest superstar to make fun of in maybe professional sports because you know he's never going to hammer you back on it. Like, there hasn't been that moment. It's been 17 years in the NBA. There hasn't been that moment where he's went out there and won it, and then he can stick it to everybody. He's the easiest great player to make fun of in the NBA.
That's the thing. He's amazing.
Call it what it is.
He's been amazing, and he was better than Darius. He's better in the playoffs than anything Darius had ever given you. So think about that. We love the guy that we drafted that's not good, but the guy that's the Hall of Famer that bailed us out, by the way, in the Toronto series and at times in the Detroit series. Like, was a big part of us moving on. You don't like that guy.
No.
Explain that to me. I'll never understand
that.
Well,
they're not going to like that guy because they don't think he's enough to get him over the hump. They just don't.
But they like the guy that couldn't get them over the hump and was worse than the guy that did.
Because to them, there is going to be people who believe that Darius Garland was better than what anybody ever made him to be, and that if we were going to trade him, we should have got something bigger in return than James Harden. I wish we would have.
And listen, we're all locking arms on that.
We all agree with each other on it.
I wish Darius Garland had trade value,
but he
didn't. Because he's not.
There's trade value there. James Harden's a good player, but you weren't going to get the dynamic wing.
No,
because of Darius Garland, it wasn't going to happen. But I think we'll get some people calling in today to blow it up, and I just say to those people, hey, if you're just a name that's on a phone call, that's fine. Lima's going to hold me accountable. Everybody else is going to hold each other accountable on the station for saying it should be blown up. I'm not saying it should be blown up. I don't think it should be blown up. I mean, get rid of guys. I mean, that's what blow it up is.
Well, wait, like trading Evan Mobley is blowing it up? Because when I hear blow it up, I like tear down to but they can't. They don't own their picks. So what does that mean,
Anthony,
blow it up?
I don't know. I saw Brian Geltzeiler tweet it yesterday that, well, if they can't do it, they should blow it up. Well, what does blow it up even look like? And second, I think that if you were to ask me the definition of blow it up, it said, all right, you trade away Donovan Mitchell, you trade away, James Harden has a contract conversation to have. You trade away Evan Mobley and you start fresh. Like that to me is what the definition of blow it up is. And what you're saying is right, like you can't even blow it up. But if you're advocating to blow it up, think about what we're advocating for. We're going from one of the 4 teams that are left in the NBA, now down to one of the 3 teams left in the NBA, to one of the final 4 teams left in the league to probably a 20-win basketball team. That's what you're going to. So I can't advocate for that. Regardless, I mean, you can get in the contract, schmontract all you want. I'm just saying at the very bare minimum of everything, at the base of all of this, it's that I'm not advocating to blow this thing up. I won't advocate to blow this thing up this year. No.
Well, you're not. See, this is the difference, though. You're not where Milwaukee was, where there was the talent drain over time because you maxed and went all in, and then everybody lost their value except for Giannis. Like, there still are valuable assets on this team. They still have really good players. So to me, that doesn't speak. Especially if anybody has seen Dan Gilbert, who I don't know if he was there last night, but I obviously saw him, at times during these playoffs. And does that look like a guy who wants to sit through a rebuild? I don't think so. Like that is not, I mean, you got to think like Jerry Jones want to sit through a bunch of rebuilds? Like, no, Jerry Jones always wants to be a year away from having a chance to compete for the Super Bowl. Dan Gilbert strikes me as somebody that as long as he owns this team, he will never go back down to the 17-win Cavaliers again.
He'll do his best not to. I mean, you go back to the Kevin Love signing years ago when they were getting ready to where they were just starting the redoing of the arena. And there were people who thought it was not the greatest signing ever. It's like, well, he's always going to be trying to win. He's always going to be trying to get people in the arena. And Kevin Love was like the last of those people. Like you knew where he stood, what he stood for even then, and where it is now. So I agree with you. He's just not that type of owner to do it. But I think all good things come to an end, and I think maybe next year is obviously, this has been a good thing, and next year is probably when, if it doesn't work out, this is where this thing comes to an end. One way or another, it's probably where this thing comes to an end, is at this time next year. But as of right now, as angry as I was watching that last night, how embarrassing as it was, and it was a terribly embarrassing performance. It's not time to break it up yet. No. 216-474-0092. But I'll hear you guys on it. And, I mean, you might be making some changes. Should Kenny Atkinson have to go at 6:43 after you hear what he had to say over the weekend? You might think it's time because not necessarily the greatest message coming from Kenny. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, take us with you to work on the free Odyssey app.
I love it here. I don't know how else to say it. I've said it before I signed the other extension. I love it here. I have no doubt this group can get there, but, you know, reports are going to be reports. People are going to be people. I've said the same thing. We have unfinished business. It's great energy to see the city. You know, when we got to the conference finals, just to feel that, like, that's amazing. Like, even driving in, people were going crazy. Like, I love that. I love that about this place, man. Like, it's the city deserves a ring, and we just got to keep going.
That's Donovan Mitchell yesterday after the Cavs lost. They were absolutely obliterated in Game 4. Whatever you want to say out of gas, it was embarrassing. It was an absolutely embarrassing game.
Did you have a problem? He referenced there the drive-in. People were going nuts. Did you have a problem with him taking a picture with the New York Knicks fan?
No. There were a lot of Knicks fans there. Did you want him to give the Knicks fan the finger and drive off? Maybe. Maybe that would have been something, but he's not going to be a mean guy. and that's just what it was.
I saw
something's missing, man. And there's 1,000 people with 1,000 different reasons, and I don't know what it is, but something's missing between the fans and the organization. Something is missing. I don't know what it is. There's and I got an answer for. I'm looking at the social media. Social media reactions on X are brought to you by
Scheiben Jewelers, Cleveland's premier jewelry store.
And I'm getting 1,000 different things being brought up, like the wild man says here, the Ganoush. Highest payroll in the league, and other than the regular season, everything is a struggle. No sense of urgency ever, Ken. That's why people are angry. They traded, you say highest payroll, they traded Darius Garland when they still had the highest payroll. They traded Darius Garland for a guy 10, 11 years older than him.
Well,
that's as urgent as it gets.
That was there. I mean, whether you call it a panic, a desperation, or by any means necessary to improve their chances to make a deeper run, that was a level of urgency to that. You don't see a lot of teams that would have been willing to forego, Darius at that time of the year. Normally these moves they never equate to making a deep run. Like when you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, we have to make a move.
Maybe.
And the Cavs did that. They made a move very late in the season.
This might be what it is. And this is ugly, but it's true. I do think sports fans in Cleveland are by and large, people don't agree with this whatsoever. I think they're by and large, Midwest fans in general, I do think are smart. That includes a lot of cities that I know that we hate. But I think in general, they care more about sports, so that automatically makes them smarter than a lot of people in a lot of better weather cities. Go with me on this. I think a lot of fans know that in their hearts, if you were to ask me, do I think that this team has a chance to win a championship? What do I say?
Yeah, I say no. You'd say no.
And I think a lot of people have that same feeling. So I think they feel, what's the point if they're not going to approach a championship?
Yeah,
I've seen a team approach a championship. What's the point?
But I don't know.
I understand that, but to me, that is probably the number one reason is that, hey, they might like him, but they don't have any faith in him whatsoever.
Okay, to that extent, sure. I thought Boston was coming out of the East. People up and down in my mentions, they.
But I think these people say we don't even think we would have beat Boston, Anthony.
Yeah, well, whatever. I mean, there have been a lot of Guardians teams or Indians teams I didn't think had a shot to win the World Series. That didn't mean I wasn't going to go balls to the walls and go.
It's a different sport.
And do
it's really
everything.
A different sport.
What Browns team have I ever thought was going to go? That doesn't mean I'm not excited about the team come September.
And I think the first time into all this, I think that they were really excited. But over time, you start to think that maybe they don't have it. And I think that you look at it and you say, do they have it? The Knicks, they got something. But I think a lot of people think the Knicks are just playing for second place. Do you think the Knicks are going to win the NBA Finals? I don't. I think Knicks fans are all excited, and they look good. I'll give them proper respect. I'm not saying this out of anger, but I look at what they're doing in the Western Conference. And I think it'll probably be a good series, but I just don't think that they'll win the series.
No, 2 weeks ago, I would have said they had no shot. They did just complete. Did you see this number? 11 straight wins, right, or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild number.
It's not just that. It's in the playoffs or the postseason. No team in the history of the NBA has this point differential over this span of games. You got to at some point be like, all right, give them a fighting chance.
I understand.
This has been. They don't miss open shots.
Yeah.
Now against the Cavs, they get a lot of open shots because our defense basically gave up around the 8-minute mark of the first quarter of Game 1. But this team, like the Knicks, they are worth, at this point, celebrating. This has been pretty amazing what they've been able to pull off ever since their backs were against the wall in the first round against the Hawks.
And maybe they do. Maybe they do think that they have a chance at it, and maybe they will have a look at it, better look than I thought. Because, they've made some moves, and Jalen Brunson has done a remarkable job. And Jalen Brunson is, by and large, the type of player that we were hoping we were trading for each and every step through this. And we have a player that's comparable but not as good in Donovan Mitchell. And it's a fair thing to say.
But go up and down the line. And did you even know who Landry Shamet was before this series?
No, I still hardly do.
Did you know
he hit a bunch of threes?
Yeah. Did you know that he shot better than Klay Thompson and Steph Curry?
I had no clue.
Better than anybody who's ever suited up in the playoffs? This is an all-time heater. Anunoby does not miss. Bridges does not miss. Yes, we also could have made life harder on them. They chose not to or were unable to do so. But, man, this Knicks team, I'm rooting for them. I am. I never root for teams that that beat us and embarrass us like this. I'm rooting for them. I have zero problem rooting for them. They seem
I got a problem rooting for them.
They seem genuinely likable. Their fans, well, they took over. I mean,
give me a minute before I answer that question.
What are you going to do? They basically took over every city during the playoffs.
Can I have a minute before? I don't think I'm rooting for them.
No,
because
you got to root for SGA, the all-time flopper.
Root. Okay, hold on. Rodney and Litchfield, you're next up on the Fan. Hello.
I'm going to try to make 7 quick points about the Cavs. I'm not ready to blow it up.
All right.
First point, Mobley and Allen. What is it going to take to get the maximum out of these guys? And I'm talking about, we've seen what they can do at times. What's it going to take to get them to get a dog out of these guys? A fight. They get out-rebounded by guys 6 inches taller than them. That's one point I want to make. 2, Mitchell and Harden. Listen, Mitchell's a nice player. Don't get me wrong. When you only have a handful of good playoff games, now you go back to when he was in Utah, he's not good enough. And I don't want to compare him to LeBron because let's be honest. When we start saying LeBron and Jordan, we're talking about top 10 players of all time. I'm talking about guys who have more good games than bad games, especially in the playoffs. And here's one of the reasons why the fans are so mad at this team. One, you can't blame the payroll. I gave them a pass the last couple of years because of all the injuries. Can't blame injuries this year. They were as healthy as they could be this year going to the playoffs. But what I can't stand is the laziness that we all have seen. Getting back on defense. They're horrible at guarding the three-point line. They were all year. They turned the ball over all year. Those are facts. When you go to the playoffs, you are what you are. A zebra can't change its stripes. They were bad at three-point defense. They still are. They're bad at getting back on defense. They still are. And they're horrible at defending the three-point shot. And they still are. What's it going to take to get that better? And then one last thing about Atkins. Again, nice coach. He lost game 1. Nobody can argue that. You cannot wait 15, 16 points to take a timeout when you're up by 22. There should have been a timeout taken at 6 or 7 points. There should have been a timeout taken at 14 or 15 points. We all know that. That's the points I want to make. I'm not ready to blow it up, but and one last thing, your best player cannot be 6'1", and I don't want to hear Brunson. I'm not even sure he's their best player. He may be the guy that makes the motor go, just like Steph Curry was. They've got 8 solid players. You cannot win in the NBA when your best player is 6'1". Look at the history of the league the last 50 years.
Rodney, thank you very much for the call. I don't.
Brunson is their best player.
I don't think they're. Well, I don't think that they're late. I just don't think they're good enough. I just don't think they're a good enough team to be a finals winner, to be a finals team. I would have to say.
Listen, even when I was waving the pom poms, I admitted like the Cavs had flaws. The thing is, I thought the Knicks had flaws.
I understand that.
Somehow, some way, the Knicks made those flaws disappear in this playoff run.
And by the way, a lot of people here on the phones are not saying to blow the thing up. Either they know what you're talking about when it comes to contracts and picks and lack thereof, or
you're not going to like what that looks like.
Yeah, they just don't, or it's not worth it to do it just yet. But it doesn't mean that people are going to be waving pom-poms going into next year. I think people see their ceiling. And another thing is that this has been a team that over the last couple of years, last few years actually, has kind of gamed the system to try to take on the type of teams that they wanted to take on. And it's great that they got to the Eastern Conference Finals and that part of it worked, but you're seeing just how far behind you are to even some of the teams in the East. Do you think that you can make moves that are going to change things against you and the Knicks? Possibly. It could change things the way it would with you and the Celtics, but you're kind of hoping that the Celtics were to break off on their own, and then that would happen. So you're looking at right now as the number 2 team in the East, but really when you put the Celtics in there at full throttle with Jason Tatum, possibly the number 3 team in the East. And to have the highest payroll in the 3 team in the East, the third best team in the East, is frustrating for any Cavs fan out there.
Boston's going to be trying to get better. Obviously, Orlando is another team that is going to be trying to get better. Yeah. You're going to hear a lot of these teams, in the crosshairs of potentially massive moves of what could be a frenzied offseason. And I think the Cavs are going to be right in the thick of it as well.
All right, I'm going to get to more callers coming up here in a moment. 216-474-0092. A lot of people are saying, hey, they're mad, don't break it up. But you don't have to be a whole buying all in, selling all out to make a change at one certain position because, boy, he just doesn't know what to say when the mic's in front of him, does he, to make his fan base feel better. Kenny Atkinson had some weird words before Game 4. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on The Fan.
When your roof fails, it usually gives you
drive your soundtrack on the way into the Guardians games. And talk about the game on your way home on overtime. The best Guardians coverage is right here on Cleveland's Sports Radio, 92.3 The Fan.
Analytically, I think we won the I said 3 out of 3. We're 2 out of 3 in the expected. I don't know if you guys follow that. That was an expected score.
Oh, that was. You can't.
Well, we got the expected ass
You can't
kicking
do that,
yesterday.
buddy. You can't. You can't say that. That was. We're back in deep. Well, you're back in deep at Estelan when you're saying things like that.
What?
I don't know, man.
That is a quote that will live in infamy.
Oh my God. Like,
Boy.
hearing that quote enough, it's like, yeah, they'll want you fired after you say something like that, and then you go and get your ass handed to you. I mean, I lost count. What's a...
Oh, that's going to be...
It's 2-2.
That's going to follow Kenny Atkinson.
37-point loss.
If Kenny Atkinson, and who knows, maybe we should tell people to keep it locked in to Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan throughout the day, where there could be moves made. Who knows?
This is what I'm saying, though. That's the way it's taken.
That quote is going to follow him the rest of his career.
And that's the way it's taken, because that's when we have these conversations, and some of you, like you and a couple other people, you guys roll your eyes. Not you as much, but you used to. But there's a lot of like the very... They know math, and they want you to know math, and they know football, and they know math, and they like to put it together. And I'm just thinking, man, I understand that you have to look into that stuff. There's not a war in intelligence the way that you guys make it out to be. But when these things are said and the scoreboard reflects differently, like you have to read in real world, because to I think a lot of folks, when you bring up analytics, that's just an excuse to keep you employed for not doing your job, is basically what it is, because your job is to win. In pro sports, it's to win. And when we see these things, like, you used to get so mad, and I would get mad, is when they would go and they lose these stupid games. And this is Brownsian. The Browns would go out and lose stupid games, and then you'd look back and you'd hear, well, Kenny, the process was right, this, that, and the other. It's like, oh, okay, well, at some point, your process is going to have an outcome on the scoreboard here,
Kenny,
or your fans are going to stop going. And when you hear about analytically you're up 2-1 in a series, it's just insulting to the regular fan. There's no other way to say it. I know he's not trying to satire. I know he's not trying to insult people, but it's insulting to the fans.
I guarantee you, their internal analytics would probably demonstrate that they would be willing 100 out of 100 times to give Jalen Brunson 7 straight possessions matched up against James Harden with that shot profile, him having to go off the glass. A couple of contests where he still somehow manages to float it through there. And I bet you the Cavs would say they would live with that 100 out of 100 times. And then a basketball person would need to come in and go, no, call timeout. Don't give up the switch that easily. Maybe ice him to the baseline to where he's not going into the middle of the paint to his coveted areas. No, Kenny, you watch hoops. You have tape of Jalen Brunson. You know he's capable of making tough shots. It's the NBA where the superstars can rise above and do that, especially when they're on a historic heater. No. And here we are. The analytics might say one thing. The eyes and the tape tell you a very different tale.
It's a very ugly thing to say. And I winced when he said it because it's not going to go over well. I mean, that's a fart in church. And here we are today. And honestly, I worry about his job because I think the owner thinks a lot like a fan would. And I think an owner's sitting there going, you're saying this to the fans? What are you saying?
I'm expecting him to be out of a job by noon today. That is my expectation.
Really?
Yes.
I really didn't think they were going to fire him.
Yeah, I think he's gone. I think, especially in that league,
I really didn't think they were going to fire him.
Man, Kenny, they fired David Blatt. Were they what seed were they?
They were the one seed.
They were the one. They did it in January.
They fired, with the Cavs in first place, they fired David Blatt and went to the coach, who at the time was one of the highest paid, if not the highest paid assistants, but somebody with no experience. So why would you be that surprised if they fired Kenny Atkinson today?
I just didn't think they would. I just think he said the worst thing you possibly could at the worst possible time. I mean, unless he said he didn't care about winning and losing. I mean, I guess that's worse, but I don't need to sit there and power rank the 3 things he could have said that were worse to Cavs fans. I mean, that's about as bad as it gets. When you're saying analytically and you're down 0-3, It's backs against the wall. We got to dig out of this. Not, well, analytically, we'd be up 2-1 in the series. Where, you know what, let me try to wrap my head around that and go, well, you're up by 22 at one point and you had a terrible breakdown. And then you just missed wide open shots in game 2. I thought you played defense as well as you have. You just weren't able to hit open shots in game 2. Like, you could sit here and try to do that. But my God, let Radio Talk dummies try to say that. Not you. He has missed almost every opportunity. You want to talk about missing shots? He's missed like every opportunity to communicate with the fan base throughout this postseason. Like, everything he says, it just makes the fan base feel worse about the organization and about the team. And I got to tell you, I didn't think he'd get fired. I mean, when it comes to NBA coaches, you can put them in, put them out, don't matter to me. But I didn't think he'd get fired. But the way you're talking, you think he could be done by noon today?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
All right, 216-474-0092. You better keep listening to the fan because something could break at any moment, obviously. Josh in Akron, you're first up on the fan. Hello, Josh.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hi, Josh.
All right, so I just want to talk about what it's going to take for the guys to take the next step. And I know we've went over this really for the past 3 years redundantly, like over and over and over, but it's going to take Evan Mobley making that next step. And I'm encouraged by what he did in this postseason, but it's going to take him it's going to take the sheriff finding his badge, man. Like, this guy's going to have to, become more vocal. He's going to have to demand the ball. He's going to have to, like, say it with his chest, like, not just put his hand up like, hey, I got a question in kindergarten. You know what I mean? Like, we need him to take that next step, because you're not going to win a championship with a 6'1" guard being your best player.
He's definitely, to me, I agree with you. I agree with you, Josh. I think he's the most controversial player on this team. And he does nothing to get controversy, to put controversy on himself. But, I mean, in terms of controversy, it's like James Harden. All right, James Harden's 36, 37 years old, all right? Donovan, his future, like, if you were to get rid of Donovan, then you're basically starting all over again. Evan's future, it's like he's still 24. He's 5 years in, but he's still 24, so he's technically still going into his prime. And I think there's a lot of people who they hear that and they go, oh, God, for the love of God, Kenny, just get rid of the guy. He's never going to be there. And it's like, well, no, if we're either going to trade him for ultimate pieces, or he's got to step up and be that ultimate piece. And I think a lot of people are like, well, wish in one hand and you know what in the other, because they don't know whether or not he's going to be that guy. I can't say for certain he's not. I think more folks are leaning towards he's not, but still, even if he's not a 1%er, a Kevin Garnett type player, Josh, he's still a fabulous player. It's just how fabulous can he be for you for a team that's supposed to contend? Yeah, go ahead.
Here's my thing, though, is like, I think people focus too heavy on the outside shot. Like, I don't care if he's, becomes a guy that's shooting 5 to 7 threes a game. That's not what encourages me by what he did, or what excites me about what he was doing in this postseason run. It was his aggressiveness in the paint. It was the way he was taking the ball to the hole, the way that he was taking defenders that were, smaller than him. He'd have the mismatch and he would take it straight to the rack. And I love that. That's what we need, is that aggression. It's been too many times that Evan Mobley's got the ball with a 6'5" guard on him, and he won't back him down. Like, he kicks the ball back out.
It might just be his gather, Josh. I think you're 100% right on this, and thank you very much for the call, because, Lima, I got to kind of pass it off to you, just because his gather seems to take so long, it makes me think he's hesitant to take the shot. The whole shot can be measured with a sundial, with how long it takes him to catch and shoot, and because it takes him so long, it makes me think he's not sure if he wants to take the shot.
Yeah, there's
that can't be true, but that's how I feel.
Like, here's the thing about this series overall for Evan, not just this series, this playoff run.
Yeah.
He played well enough to where he is absolutely going to be the subject of massive, maybe a Giannis trade. Who knows? But he played well enough over the course of the playoffs to where people look and go, he's 24, get him in our house, and we are going to develop his skills. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns is 30. Look at what they have said about Karl Anthony Towns, who was a former number 1 overall pick.
That's true.
Look at how they've talked about Karl Anthony Towns forever. And now, because they're going to the NBA Finals, what do they say about Karl Anthony Towns? Now they don't question his toughness. Now they don't question, his ability to do this or that on a basketball floor. But it's been how many years for Karl Anthony Towns? But at the same time, for Evan Mobley, I think he's got enough flaws in his game where fans, an element of the fan base, would be okay with moving on from him if you could get Giannis. Like, I do think that was always got to be part of the formula for a potential Giannis move, was he had to be good enough. And I do think, like, Milwaukee, all the trade packages, like, they could consider bringing in Evan Mobley in exchange.
Coming up at 7:22, it's one thing if Lima and I say, what if a former coach says this about a certain quarterback for your football team? Because there was some big stuff that happened over the weekend there. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, and they got further than they ever have since LeBron. And then they embarrassed themselves. I wouldn't let what just happened change the way I see the entire franchise. That's in 5 minutes on The Fan.
Some people may say, well, at least we finally made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. We haven't made it to the Eastern Conference Finals in a long time. At least we finally made it there. But did we really make it to the Eastern Conference Finals? Did we really make it there? Because we got there and we didn't show up.
That sound you hear is nobody caring about the Cavs next year.
Well, yeah, we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Wait, who was
that's on the Coming In hotline.
Who was I listening to there?
That was Kevin.
Who was a caller on the Coming In hotline, which you can use on the Leave a Message thing on the free Odyssey app. It's right next to the Listen Live button.
I mean, would you care about next year's Cavs if all of a sudden they had Giannis and LeBron James? I think you would.
Of course they would.
You could say you wouldn't.
Of course
I think you'd be lying.
Of course they would. 216-474-0092. Like, it was still, as upset as we are, it was still a step in the right direction for this team. It's just how many. I just don't think that anybody has any faith that they'll take the next step, and that is going to the NBA Finals and winning a championship. I don't think that's really realistic with this group. I think a lot of fans probably agree with that. You did get better. You did take a step forward from where you were before. So as far as heads rolling, like if you want to fire Kenny Atkinson, fire Kenny Atkinson. You find new head coaches all the time in the NBA. You want to put Johnny Bryant in there, whoever you want to put in there, fine. Go right on ahead. That don't matter to me. All Kenny has done, I'm sure he's a nice guy, but all he's done is make the fans even angrier during this postseason. Is it not true? He got out, flat out one, he got out-coached by Mike Brown in game one. Probably was out-coached the entire series. Now, I know that's an easy thing to say, and it's tough to find evidence of these sort of things, but, I mean, game one, good God, it's as apparent as it could possibly be. Throughout the postseason, I think a lot of people were kind of worried about Kenny and his attitude towards things. You want to find a new coach? Fine. Go find a new coach. Fine. Move on from that. But I still don't think it's going to get you much further where it's at. Doesn't mean I'm blowing the thing up. I still want to enjoy good basketball here for as long as I possibly can before I have to blow the thing up. And this is very difficult to do as they are currently constructed with their draft picks. So you're kind of stuck. And I think that that's probably what we're most frustrated about us as fans is that we're stuck and we know we're stuck. And there's few options to make this thing that much better. You can try to go after Giannis, even though I think he'd probably look at Cleveland in the same situation as he does Milwaukee. Personally, for him, seems that he would probably not want to take a trade here as opposed to trades in other places. But when it comes to you-know-who, well, that's a totally different...
Because he doesn't like the city or the talent?
When I'm hearing about, when I'm reading the articles about, I beg your pardon, about how it's not just the roster construction, it's about kind of he's getting tired of Milwaukee. I'm like, well, to me, they're very similar cities in the Midwest. That might be why we all hate each other, because we're all looking at each other and we're seeing each other in the mirror. But basically, they're all very similar cities. And if he wants something bigger, yeah, the Cavs have a better chance to win with him, certainly. And he would have a better chance to accomplish something with the Cavs. He would change that conversation. But is this something he wants? Is Brooklyn more fixed to what he wants? Are the Clippers or something more fixed to what he wants at this point in his career? Like, that's what I think that he might be aiming for. When I heard, like, he wanted the Knicks, and it was like, well, then we're just out of this. We are out of this. I don't know if the Knicks, as currently made up, would actually make that move after this. We'll find out after this series coming up against whoever comes out of the West. But I just don't think that we're a place that he would really want to be. So if we're not a place that he'd really want to be, well, there is one great out there, but we'll talk about him coming up at 8 o'clock because it's a conversation you cannot avoid, who comes with his own set of circumstances. Not problems, but circumstances. And it changes what next season actually stands for, because I'm convinced if he does come back, then you're talking about a retirement tour for that guy. So we do have some conversation. Are we in, or are we just going out for one last run here, and then that's it? Like, we don't really know what the team stands for. And that's frustrating to a Cavs fan. It's also that you got to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you just got boat raced in the Eastern Conference Finals. And you had game one that you let slip through your fingers in a terrible fashion. And then this last game, I thought that they probably weren't going to win last night. I think a lot of fans felt that way, but good God, to lose by 37.
But I've never seen. I've watched a lot of teams give up like in game fours. I've never seen it look like that. Have you? Where shot goes up, nobody gets back. Like Harden shoots a three, and if James Harden's your last line of defense, we know how that's going to end anyway. Did they not make that a huge I know people probably weren't even paying attention to what the teams were saying on the day off between the two games. But from game 3 to game 4, all the Cavs talked about is we've got to get back. We've got to be intentional about getting back. We have to make the New York Knicks feel us. They haven't felt us in this series.
Yeah, you could say all.
And then in the first 5 minutes, they run on every possession, and nobody gets back. Nobody.
Yeah. Just because you say it don't mean you're going to do it, brother.
I've never seen that before. I got to be honest. I've watched a lot of basketball at a lot of different levels.
Just because you say it.
I've never seen that before.
Just because you say it don't mean you're going to do it. And they said it, and they probably said what they're saying is true. They needed to do all these things, but you're not going to do it, especially when you're in give-up mode. And that's part of the reason why people are so mad at them. But I got to tell Cavs fans today, I just think we're stuck. I just think we are stuck as fans right now. This team cannot really be blown up with the way they are. I don't think they should be blown up. Well, fire the coach, fire the coach. I don't give a damn. The guys we're talking about coming here are really not either realistic or they're at the end of their run and we're talking about a totally different set of circumstances. Like you're stuck. And that might be part of the reason why fans have been so down on them. The season, it was better than what it's been in the past. You got to the Eastern Conference Finals for one of 3 times. I think they did it in 75, 76. They did it once. They did it once against Michael, and then this is the 3rd time they've done it without LeBron James. Mm-hmm. That's saying, and it's the first time they've done it since LeBron James. So these are all steps forward, but how do you get to the next step? You don't. But, I don't think a lot of Cavs fans think you do.
It feels, and talking to the fans, like they didn't feel like it was a step forward at all. And then to get humiliated
because they just got their asses kicked on national television.
And then to have all the, not just Shaq, Kenny, and Charles, but everybody. I mean, everybody. I mean, this is on all the national morning shows, the news shows, because where are they based out of? New York City. They're showing MSG bumping out of the breaks. Like, this is the talk of everywhere, and it is total humiliation because you didn't even put up a fight. Like, I think even Legler yesterday and Richard Jefferson, they could not believe the give up. We've seen teams give up in elimination games. It happens all the time. In the NBA, teams that the 1, 2, 3 Cancun.
And when you give up,
but it's never looked like that.
And when you give up, a fan, you can see it, and the fans saw it, and they go, "If you're going to give up, why the hell should I bother?" And they feel that they're going to get when times get tough, and it's frustrating for me to say it. When times get tough, fans just feel that they're going to crumble, and they're going to fold, and they're going to find the easiest way, not through. They're going to find the easiest way out of it. And the easiest way out of it is still the toughest way out of it because you get hammered by 37, and then it becomes a giant pep rally of Knicks fans in your own building. Easy trip for him to make, cheap ticket for him to get. Probably a lot of those people that were outside the arena on the home games probably were able to make it here for less and do all the things for less than what they would have done over at MSG. So they got to see their team come here, kick ass, and go to the NBA Finals for the first time since '99.
And it
sucks.
So much for the Cavs doing everything they could. And by the way, I know they tried to. So much for those Cavs season ticket holders not selling their seats to Knicks fans.
Well, they made guys. Fat Joe said they made him switch from the front row to the second row.
He ain't fat no more, though.
Spike Lee.
I don't know. Did you look at him?
Spike Lee was in the second row.
I thought he.
Since when is Spike Lee relegated to the second row?
They made all the New York celebrities switch to the second row.
How did they do that?
I don't know.
Ben Stiller, Chalamet. They were there.
I mean, it didn't matter because at the end of the game, all I see is video of them standing on the court. I think the game was still going on.
Oh, they took
Tracy
over, yeah.
Morgan was crying on the court because the Knicks made it back to the
Let's
finals.
go to Cool Ray in Bedford. Cool Ray, you're first up in the fan. Hello.
Hey, what's up? Good morning, everybody. How y'all feeling?
Well, we've been better, Cool Ray. Go ahead.
Man, I've been calling these radio stations. I've been telling y'all the same thing about Mobley is not. First of all, y'all need to stop talking about trading Mobley for Giannis. Nobody's going to trade a superstar for what we saw. And it's not just what we saw in this series.
A superstar who wants out? A superstar who wants out?
But nobody's going to trade him.
You're just mad. That's nonsense. You're just mad.
I'm not mad. I'm not mad because I've been calling this radio station saying how Mobley isn't a star the way we make him out to be a star here. And it showed he can't shoot. He's slow. And my disappointment of anything was Kenny Atkins. Like, I didn't realize how bad of a coach he really is. Like, he could make adjustments. And then it's just so bad. But what we saw, and I want you guys, I want y'all a professional opinion. What we saw in this series, what we've been seeing all year, but we just kind of said it's just a regular season. We watched them not play. We watched them not shoot consistently. We got good shooters, Miro and all those guys, but they don't make shots when it counts. And this is what we actually been seeing. And then when we traded Garland from, we made that trade to get the Beard here. Everybody was a rave. Oh, we're going to be great. No, I sat down on your radio and said no. But what you said, well, we made it better because we made it to the finals. Think about it. They lost to stay away from certain teams to make it to the finals. I got on your radio station and said, I don't like that loser mentality. Y'all was pumping it up about, oh, I would lose just make it to the finals. No, I don't like that loser mentality. If you're going
Corey,
to go
they went like 15-6 over the last month. They were one of the better teams in the NBA. So it's not like they went into tank mode.
No, not tank mode, but they went going into the playoffs. Y'all was on here talking about I would lose to go against this team and I would lose to go against that team just to make it to the finals. I said I don't like that loser mentality.
You'd rather play the better team in the first round when we had no time to gel over the last 2 months of the regular season?
What did they say?
They would have gotten bounced in the first round had they played a better team.
Didn't Harden and Mitchell say, we'll figure it out? He's a Hall of Famer. He's been traded. He's been on other teams. So that is out the window. If you're going to win a championship, you're not going to play a bad team in a championship. You're going to have to play dog. So you might as well get battle tested. When they got battle tested, they folded. And Kenny Atkins got folded on. We watched it. This isn't anger. This is about job performance. He felt mental.
Well, about Kenny. Listen, Ray, I agree with you about Kenny. All right, thank you very much for the call.
They were battle tested in the first two rounds, and they won game 7.
They would have been out in the first round had they played a tougher team.
The other two situations are, one, with Evan Mobley, he's your make or break piece is Evan. That's your make or break guy. And I think that a lot of NBA general managers are going to feel a lot better about Evan Mobley than what Cool Ray in Bedford or Kenny in Streetsboro, whoever feels about Evan Mobley on the morning after they got boat raced at home and embarrassed themselves at home and embarrassed the fan base at home. So a lot of people are going to feel differently about Evan Mobley at the end of the week than they do right now. The other part said about James Harden is, I mean, we can go around and around and around all we want. You could still have Darius Garland, and you could not get to the Eastern Conference Finals. All right, you went out, you got James Harden, you got to the Eastern Conference Finals. You got hammered in the Eastern Conference Finals, could have won game 1, probably still would have got a gentleman's sweep by the time it's all said and done, but got hammered in the Eastern Conference Finals. Okay, this is where the ceiling is. Unless you do something crazy, and I just don't think that you're going to be able to do something that crazy considering the constraints that you have. So if you feel stuck and that leads to some malaise with the Cavs again, well, then I guess we're about to go through another season of malaise because I don't think they're breaking it up, and here we are.
There is not... I don't believe, and if somebody could point me evidence to the contrary, I do not believe there is a better young player in the league than Evan Mobley that Milwaukee Bucks would actually want in exchange for Giannis. And I'm not going to make every day a Giannis day. That'll get real old for everybody. And in the end, like, he has to want to come here too, right? Like that's a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you're crazy if you don't think Milwaukee would look at him at 24 years old. Who at times in the playoffs was a defensive dynamo. I mean, he had.
Well, why'd you just let me call Cool Ray crazy? Why didn't you say it too?
He had freakish defensive games in his series, and remember, he had to make up for what Donovan and James couldn't do on the perimeter because the defense by both of those guys was horrific. It was. I thought James played decent defense in the Toronto series, and he was a good matchup against a lot of those guys. And through much of the Detroit series, I thought he hung in there. And then this series, he was horrific. He was dreadful.
216-474.
And Evan had to make up for that stuff.
0092. Coming up in a bit at 8 o'clock, we will talk about the return of you-know-who. I want to get some more guys on you. Whether or not, I can't believe you're saying Kenny Atkins could be out of a job by noonday. It's not that I can't believe you could be saying, it's just galling to hear it, I guess. And so I'm a little bit taken aback by it. Not like you're mad or you're making me mad or anything. It's just, it was a little bit like, whoa, I can't believe, like, here we are today after they get hammered. And I guess we are on Kenny Atkinson watch today. Lima said he could be gone. He wouldn't be surprised if he was gone by noon. 216-474-0092. There was also some other things that happened over the weekend. You know, it's one thing for Lima and I to say it, but what about if a former coach says this? You hear it in about 5 minutes on The Fan. Friends, Ken Carman here for Classic Mind.
923 The Fan on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get the best content from our shows each and every weekday. That's 923 The Fan on YouTube. Headline sports news every 20 minutes right here on 923 The Fan. From the University Hospital Sports Desk, I'm Jeff Thomas.
Eight o'clock, we got Guardians tickets to give away. I mean, I know they didn't win yesterday, but they've been winning a hell of a lot of ball games lately. More about them coming up, and about last night coming up at 7:45. Guardians tickets coming up at 8 o'clock. Also, about last night coming up at 7:45. Where apparently this could be the greatest sports year ever, according to John, because it's July, and that's what we're going to do. I want John to ask the question because I got one major issue with what he said. And I'm going, what are you saying? Okay, well, we'll find out coming up at 7:45. We will get back to Cavs because they ain't going anywhere. So we will get back to Cavs coming up here momentarily. However, over the weekend, it's one thing for me and Lima to say it. It's another thing for a former football coach to say it. A guy who actually has wins and losses on his record in Coach Lance. And I heard Coach Lance over last week and over the weekend, and he said kind of the same thing that you and I have toyed with. Well, I've toyed with it. I don't think you have. I think you've disagreed with me on whether or not Deshaun being in the lead could end up being not such a bad thing. Here's Coach Lance on that over the weekend.
But Deshaun being in front is something everybody should kind of think of as a good thing. Even if you're a Shedeur fan, this is a brand new offense. Understand that Deshaun has had injuries. And I had mentioned a couple weeks ago and got a lot of pushback because I said he looked good. And what I meant by that is his health looks good. It doesn't matter, what he's doing. And obviously he's got to play better in games, and I get all that. But when you have a brand new offense and you have a guy who's been in the league 10 years and he's just going to know more. It doesn't mean he's better. It doesn't mean he's automatically going to be the starter. But if you're asking who's in front, you would hope it would be Deshaun Watson at this point in time with all that veteran kind of knowledge of multiple offenses, terminology, how to get in and out of the huddle. You saw the thing I would tell everybody, they were signaling doing 2 minutes already. They're killing plays on the line of scrimmage. So there's a lot of things that have been installed already with these guys, which is a great thing because there's going to be hopefully mistakes early and then that's taken care of late.
The part he says about you would be hoping, I disagree with because I'm not hoping that Deshaun Watson would be in the lead for that position. However, him saying, well, it could possibly be taken as a good thing. Like, it would be if you were Todd Monken, that Shedeur just is not ready to run my offense. Okay, they don't put him out there. It would be even worse if you said he wasn't ready for your offense, whatever your offense may be, and then you still put him out there and then you put him behind the 8 ball. Like, if he's not ready, if that's your belief, then don't put him out there. Because I don't want to put him out there and have a situation, not even have a chance to get up off the ground. I don't think it was set up in the right way to begin with, going back to last year. I really don't want to double down on bad mistakes last year and then actually overplay the hand and force him in a position he's not ready to play in. And that was a thing we brushed up against a few weeks ago, going, well, it gives him a chance. It could be a good thing if you sat him. Deshaun goes out there, say Deshaun is still Deshaun and he ain't that great. And then you go, all right, we've had 5 weeks for you to get ready. Here we go. Off you go. You could gather your breath. You could kind of see it again, and then there you are. There's going to be certain fans out there that hear this, and they're just not going to accept that as an answer. Okay, fine. I can't make everybody happy, but I can accept it going, hey, one guy you might be more excited to see, but if he's not ready yet to take over the offense, like we do have to go. We do have to try to go out there and win football games if we're Todd Monken. So I have to accept the decision that he makes.
Well, I've been making the case for a while now that I think this could be a really good thing for Shedeur. If he truly wants to have a career in the NFL, like I don't know that this team with a overhauled offensive line with all the young pieces and parts on that receiving core, 2 brand new receivers that are going to get ample time. Like, if you were to ask me in sincerity when those guys could potentially gel, it's not before game 1 in September. That would be almost more throwing them to the wolves. Now, look, there are guys that can come into the league and play well instantly. I mean, Jackson Dart was able to do that last year, but there were ups and downs, obviously. And, there are plenty of guys where it doesn't work out, where the start is brutal, and then you're just a battering ram, and it's a new offense, and you're getting the terminology and a bunch of penalties. Like, I would not be shocked, even if you believe in Todd Monken, I would not be shocked if this team struggles out of the gates with all these new pieces and parts. So if you're Shedeur, would you want to be subjected to that in the opening month of the year where before you know it, I mean, we said they're going to be underdogs in all these games. Before you know it, you're 0-4, and then they have to make a move. And
Well,
Todd Monken's going to go to the bench.
If you're Shedeur, you probably do because I want him to be a competitor. But if I just don't feel that he's ready yet to take over the offense, then I don't want to put him in harm's way. He should feel like he could take over at any point. I want him to feel that way because I want him to be a competitor for it so he could feel that, hey, I'm going to raise the tide on this boat. We're going to be just fine. Even if I don't believe it, I want to still hear it from him. However, that said, I think it could be seen as the right thing to do where, hey, we got all these new pieces coming in. You have the veteran quarterback who's supposed to know these things, and it's argued before that he hasn't. We know that Bill O'Brien story and everything like that, but he should know these things better than a second-year quarterback there. So it may very well be advantageous for him to catch his breath, then come in later in the season, and maybe Deshaun takes off and we never have a conversation about Shedeur again. Like, these things can happen. Who knows? But when you get to this level, I want to make sure we're careful and we're doing this the right way. Not kid gloves, but trying to do this the right way to bring anybody along. Not just to bring anybody along, but to try to go out there and win football games and give the rest of the team a good chance to win. And if Todd Monken were to decide to do that, I could see the rationale in being this way. However, if Deshaun Watson were to go out there and just look completely listless, and he has before, if he looks completely listless, like you could still see people by the end of September, that early, going, what are we doing here? This is pointless.
Yeah, he'll get benched.
Yes.
I mean, he'll get benched, and then Shedeur will get his opportunity.
Yes.
Like, I would be stunned if Shedeur doesn't get a decent sample of games this year. I would be stunned. You know, it's hard for me to see, Deshaun playing so well that he's able to stave off Shedeur, and it's the Browns. And by the way, it's not just the Browns. In 2026 in the NFL, like, the backups all get to play now. They all get starts. The season is so long that it's incredible how few guys are able to go the distance.
Because you're still at 6 wins, I'm at 7, right? That's still not a lot more. Like, I heard Jonathan last week say it, where he thought that, listen, this is a YouTube clip. I didn't see him on, or I didn't hear him live, so I can't give all the context. But the comment about Todd Monken taking credit for this being so much better, like, I do think you do have good young players. The most important player is a giant question mark, and that's quarterback. And more than likely, it's a negative for your football team. So if it's a negative for your football team, if they win 7 games, like, I don't think that Todd Monken is out there bragging and puffing out his chest that this team was able to win 7 games. There might be some talent on that football team, but it doesn't mean that they're ready to compete just right now. 216-474-0092. All right, you want to get back to it? Here we go. Yesterday, and this is what's the most damning thing. This is a Hall of Famer saying this stuff. Here is Charles Barkley. Yesterday, this is halftime inside the NBA, yesterday's horrific game against the New York Knicks.
Starting tonight, Chuck has requested special time to begin the halftime report. Special time? Yeah. Kids at home, if you want to see what the word quit... Oh, come on, Chuck. To give up. The verb of that is cavaliers. Oh, come on. This is what you see. You think they quit or the Knicks are just that good right now? No, they were down 29, Kenny. Kenny, look, this is just effort here. Come on, man. This is just effort.
Audio courtesy ESPN. Yeah, some people took it the wrong way. Like, I want to know why there was no faith this year, and I'm figuring out the why. You definitely don't need to figure out why people are upset when you seem to want it more than the players do, and Charles Barkley's making fun of you on national television at halftime, no less.
Did the fans want it more than the players did? It seemed like the fans wanted this season over a month ago.
No, I disagree.
No.
The
ones that are ripping into us on social media. I told you so. I knew this team wouldn't do it, and I'm like, all right. I
definitely think there's some weirdos on the internet taking some sort of a victory lap over them not winning a game in the Eastern Conference Finals. But
I was excited to make a deeper playoff run, but that excitement was not matched by. I don't think it was a minority. I think there were a bunch of fans who they just hated this team. They just absolutely hated this team, and then trading for Harden made them hate it even that much more.
I don't think they hate him. I don't think they're excited about him. I don't think that they're unlikable. I think that they're a likable group. I just don't think that they feel that they're going to get anywhere where they need to go. We've seen them win a championship before. Everything else, when you've seen them win a championship before, and recently, I mean, it's been 10 years, but that's recent in a human life. When you've seen that, that's the end-all be-all. And I don't think any Cavs fan.
So only if we have like the first or second best odds at a championship, the fans aren't going to buy into a team now?
No.
Is this just a basketball thing?
Well, Anthony, hold on.
Because there have been a bunch of baseball and football teams in this town that I thought had zero shot
here we go. Tough
to win a
talking
championship. Yet I was excited about their playoff run.
Yeah, this isn't their first trip to the playoffs. You know, they've gone to the playoffs about, what, 5 straight years now? Has this been year 5 that we've gone, including the play-in? Including the play-in. So this is our 5th trip into this thing here. Mm-hmm. It's not like it's just year 1. If it were year 1 and we were already getting this type of response, it wasn't like this 3 years ago. It wasn't like this getting ready for the Knicks series in 2023. There was like, well, it might not come out our way, but it wasn't like this getting ready for the Knicks series in 2023. It really wasn't even like this to me, it wasn't like this after the Celtics series in 2024. This has been every year there's frustration, and I think that's a natural thing, and I think that happens in every sport. I think Bills fans are cynical of the Bills. I think that happens in every sport.
Did that happen with the Guardians? Did it?
I think there's plenty of fans.
They've been in the playoffs 7 of the last 10 years.
I think there's plenty of fans out there that they just feel that it's just fine for the. I don't feel this way, so it's hard to have this argument with me. I think there's plenty of fans out there who just feel like they don't take the Guardians seriously. And you just haven't noticed because it's not your passion.
Man,
basketball is your passion. The Cavs are your passion.
So it's fine. 2 of the sports in this town, you're basically saying the fans feel that way, but then how do they feel about the football team?
Oh, they like the football team just to show a sign of life. We got to crawl before we walk. Again, if the Cavs were just in their first trip to the playoffs, you didn't get this reaction their first trip to the playoffs. We were happy to be there. If the Browns go to the playoffs, we'll be happy to be there, but you will get to a point where it's like, all right, you got to give us more. You can't just keep getting to this level. And I think a lot of Cavs fans feel this is as good as it gets, and I think this is as good as it gets. So if this is as good as it gets, they're going to wash their hands of the thing.
There's no way for the team to improve?
To get to where we need to go, which is an NBA championship?
So, like, trading for Giannis, that doesn't make them better?
It makes them better. Does it make them better than the San Antonio Spurs or Oklahoma City Thunder?
Giannis is so much better now
you
than
didn't
Evan Mobley.
You didn't answer the question.
Because I'm not done with my thought. So
okay.
Giannis isn't so much better than Evan Mobley? Like, and all of a sudden, if Donovan Mitchell was, like, your number 2?
Giannis is a great player. Now, Giannis has been banged up here over the last few years. You know that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Evan's better than Giannis. Giannis is a great player. Do you believe, is your thought over?
Yeah.
Okay, now let me ask you.
Yeah.
Do you believe that Giannis, instead of Evan Mobley, gets this team over the Oklahoma City Thunder or the San Antonio Spurs?
They would not be the title favorites.
There you go.
But wait a second.
Then you'll have the same reaction.
None of the teams I've rooted for my whole life have been the title favorites. The LeBron team was not a title favorite.
That's 6 years into it.
So let me get this straight. Going forward as a Cleveland sports fan, my team has to be the title favorite to justify any moves that are made.
No. But you have to.
That's a ridiculous standard.
No, that's not it. But you're not listening.
That's what you said.
You're choosing not to hear the other parts.
That is exactly what Ken Carman. Run it back.
No,
that is exactly.
No, it's not.
What did he just say?
Did I or did I not say there's 5 years previous?
Don't make a Giannis
deal. Did I or did I not say that there were 5 years? You can start a fight with me all you want, but it's not going to work this time.
I am starting to fight because I thought it was patently ridiculous. So you're saying do not make a Giannis trade?
I'm not saying that.
Unless it puts us as the definite number 1 team.
I'm not saying that.
So what are you saying, Ken?
I never added.
What are you saying?
Now I know what you're doing.
What do they do?
I will speak very softly for you.
Please.
Because I think you're trying to get a straw man going. You're trying to use me.
Make it make sense, Kenny.
I've explained now for the 4th time that this is not. I've explained almost as many times as they've been to the postseason over the last how many years. That when you make the postseason over and over again as the Cavs, it becomes old hat. And even if you were to get Giannis, which they would be a better team, I said that to you just moments ago. Again, you're choosing what you want to hear and what you don't want to hear in terms of just make up some freaking argument against me that if this team gets Giannis, they still won't be an NBA Finals favorite. And that doesn't mean, though, that they still wouldn't be good. I'm just saying you're going to get more of the same. If it were their first time over,
you don't think fans would be excited about Giannis?
They'd be more excited what they have, but it's not going to be what you're hoping it's going to be.
So then there's nothing that will make the fans excited.
In your eyes, no.
I can't go trade for Luka. I can't go trade for Doncic. I can't go trade for SGA. So that's just where we're at because, like, what spoiled, entitled fan base are we?
It's not spoiled or entitled.
We have to have LeBron James to feel good about our team. That is insane. And then that means we truly were spoiled by the greatest to ever play the game.
It's not entitled. I don't think it's spoiled. I think it's exactly what a lot of fan bases go through. If you had the player of the generation, so you could always kind of have faith that player of generation was going to give you a firm chance. But I think a lot of us were thinking in the back of our mind, wouldn't it be great to be able to beat the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals? But even in the back of our mind, we're sitting there thinking, oh, my God, you see what's going on over in the Western Conference? I mean, this is the JV compared to what we're seeing over there. Now, maybe the Knicks will change that. But I think a lot of people are feeling that way. So listen, hey, man, you can get mad at me and you can try to put my words and use my words against me all you want.
I'm genuinely asking.
I'm just telling you the simple facts of everything
I'm genuinely asking what fans...
No, you keep genuinely asking me until I tell you what you want to hear, so then you could use it against me for whatever reasoning you want to do because you're tired of getting beat up online. Because I see you keep checking your computer over there.
I've been looking straight at you, buddy. I am just wondering what the Cavs have to do to get fans excited, and you told me Giannis basically wouldn't, so then there's nothing. So I don't know what the team... Should they move?
Giannis trade.
Should they go somewhere else? Should they move to Brook Park?
Yeah.
What should they do?
Now you're just being
stupid.
Should
they start their OTAs? Would that get fans excited?
What does that got to do with the price of fish? What does the OTAs have to do?
I just want to know what would make fans excited about basketball again, because it truly does it underscores that LeBron James really did spoil this town on a level that we're not going to recover from.
You're trying to tell me great players don't spoil towns?
Not to this level to where nothing's acceptable except being the favorite to win the championship. Yeah, that's an all-time spoiling.
Like you've listened to WFAN before. You've heard Yankees fans. I mean, they have a whole monument park to all the greats that came before that. Yeah, I guess what they have is not going to be good enough to stand up for.
So, like, San Antonio
San
was not the favorite to win the championship, but I think their fans were pretty excited about
because they have a young player that could end up being the heir apparent to LeBron James. There's a difference. We do not have the player that could be the heir apparent to LeBron James. Let's get our head out of our ass.
Evan Mobley's not Wemby, but Evan Mobley has been really, really good. That's a young player. He's 20. He's 23.
Yeah, really, really good. He's 24. He's really, really good. He's 5 years in. I'm not saying he's not good. Nobody claimed he's not a good player, Tone. No one said he's not good. He's not Wemby good. And if he were Wemby good, you would get a lot of different opinions about this that would help support your argument.
The portrait that is being painted here is that there's no redeeming quality to this Cavs team. And I'm like, man, I what a different standard.
No,
it's
incredible. This is the redeeming quality. It's just not enough because they've seen greatness. Again, when you have
LeBron spoiled us.
I'll say it 3 times over.
You agree?
But I don't think it's any different than what I just said about Yankee fans. I don't think there will be any difference in someday the future of the Golden State Warriors in the near future. I think that a lot of fan bases go through that. Once you've seen greatness and it's that recent, you're going to compare it to the greatness. And they've seen greatness.
And listen, that's fine.
Here we are telling you that the best chance you have is to maybe get to the finals if you trade away a young player that guys like me were calling the unicorn. So you can blame it on me too if you want.
The crazy thing to me about this is that this is a totally different team than those LeBron teams. They built a new team. They've made trades. They have done what they can to get better. They got past the second round hump, and now the goalposts have been immediately moved. Now they didn't get to the NBA Finals. And that, to me, I will never understand.
It's America, brother.
I will never understand that. If it's only win a championship or nothing else matters, then yeah, you're going to be miserable. And Cleveland sports fans, they probably are more miserable than most then.
Yeah, but there's context to a lot of things. Had they gone 7 games with the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, or even 6 games, I think you can make this argument. They gave up an historic lead, and then they went out and they got absolutely smashed, including a 37-point loss to close out their year. Including a 37-point loss to close out the year. And Charles Barkley's calling them quitters on national television.
They did not
it's not going to sit well with fans.
Say ridiculous things in the public.
And I think he'll get fired. And I think they will try to improve the basketball team. I just don't like being told that they have to trade for a top 3 guy or nobody will care. That's a weird standard, Cleveland.
Listen, man.
Be a better sports city than that, Cleveland. That's bizarre.
Why are you ripping Cavs fans? Do you rip Yankees fans for the same principle?
I'll rip all the fans.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I just gave you the answers.
We've had every sport get taken over now by the other team's fan base. Yeah, at some point, the best damn Cleveland sports city of all time, it's starting not to look like that. It really is. And based on what I'm hearing today, that reaching the Final Four
so it's Cavs fans' fault. It's Cavs fans' fault they lost.
I think it's
by 37.
No, that had nothing to do with it. But I'm saying,
okay. Sounds like you're blaming the fans for them losing by 37.
We get our city taken over in Game 7 of the World Series. We get our city taken over. Every Browns game's to take over. Like, what happened to this city? I don't know. Used to be a different city. Things have changed since I was young.
I didn't realize it was Guardians. Excuse me, that back then Indians fans for losing Game 7.
Amazing.
I didn't know it was their fault. I didn't realize the Dairy Brothers played instead of Francisco Lindor.
I'm told one thing, and I see something very different.
That's surprising to me. 216-474-0092. We will not be doing about last night. We'll have this argument coming up next. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on the Fan.
move to Brook Park?
Yeah.
What should they
Stop.
do?
Now you're just being
Should
stupid.
they start their OTAs? Would that get fans excited?
What does that got to do with the price of fish? What does the OTAs have to do?
I just want to know what would make fans excited about basketball again, because it truly does it underscores that LeBron James really did spoil this town on a level that we're not going to recover from.
You're trying to tell me great players don't spoil towns?
Not to this level to where nothing's acceptable except being the favorite to win the championship. Yeah, that's an all-time spoiling.
That was just moments ago. Tone is beside himself. I just think you're making the wrong move here. It seems like you're blaming fans for being mad that they lost by 37 last night. It's the way it comes off to me. It's how it comes off to me. Like you're going after fans like Tone. They lost by 37 today. To me, today's not the day to do it. But you know what? You've often gone against my advice in the past, and you will go against my advice in the future. If this is how you feel, who am I?
That's the cherry on top of the sundae that is blowing a 22-point lead, and then the coach coming out and saying, "Well, really, it's 2-1 in the series with analytics," and then not trying in Game 4 and losing by 36.
Like travel ball baseball coaches in 9U won't even say that.
It was.
These are grown men.
It was patently stupid. But I don't think he's our coach anymore. I think he's going to lose his job. I said today by
but you
noon.
can be mad at fans this morning because
I'm mad at fans.
Just because you agree with that.
By the way, I'm not mad at all the fans.
Sounds like you're mad at fans.
No, I can't. If I had
You're mad we don't have a Chalamet in town to outbuy everyone else with the tickets or a Fat Joe or a Spike Lee.
There are plenty of Fat Joes that are listening to the station in Cleveland. There's Fat Joe in Parma, Fat Joe in Middleburg Heights, Fat Joe in Painesville. There's plenty of fat people that are named Joe and rooting for the Cavs.
No.
There is.
Let him make the fat jokes at me. Don't make the fat jokes. He's a veteran.
There's a difference. Like I don't have the phone book in front of me to say you're a good fan, you're a bad fan. I have been dressed
Sounds like you
down.
are. Sounds like you're Santa Claus at Cleveland sports.
I've been dressed down by so many fans that I just don't really think are Cavs fans. Right? They kind of parachute in for the playoffs. They don't really know. They don't really pay attention. They kind of think all the stuff the Cavs do is
they're not
corny.
on your level of fandom, but just because they don't pay attention to as much Cavs as you do doesn't make them not Cavs fans.
No, I think there's different levels though, right? There's casual fans,
I am not as
and
big
there's
of a
diehards.
Cavs fan as you, Anthony, but I'm a Cavs fan.
But wait, we can't act like there isn't a difference between the fans that were on the buses that went to Detroit,
right?
Winning Game 7 in Detroit, that felt like their Super Bowl. But if you weren't in that, if you just kind of came in during the playoffs,
I don't even know how
I think there's a difference.
Bus to go to Detroit in Game 7. So that makes me less of a Cavs fan than them?
Oh, I do think there's. I'm a little surprised though. Like, you don't think there are levels? Like, I'm not as big a baseball fan as Todd.
I can Google
Derry.
search how do you get on the bus. I have no clue how they got it. It's because they have season tickets because they can afford to do it and I can't.
The fans that are telling
makes them a better Cavs fan.
Here are the fans that I do think are fans I don't really want.
Now you're putting us in classes. That's wrong.
Classism.
I think it's reality.
I agree with Owen.
Wait, am I in the same baseball category as Todd Derry? Like, we're different fans. Like, they're different fans of every sport. I don't.
Well, you probably go to more. I don't know. Maybe you don't now. He doesn't live here. I'm sorry, Matt doesn't live here.
Yeah.
Todd. Well, yeah. I don't know.
I think
you're probably not in the same.
I think every
level,
team. But
yeah.
either way, I do think if you've been sitting here telling me Final Four is not good, that's like embarrassing to get to the Final Four, but not really have a chance to win the championship. Like, I'll just disagree with you. I think it's hard. Like somebody said on social media a few minutes ago, they said, well, the Cavs, they won 2 series, but then when they played a real team. And then I asked, well, how many real teams are there? Hold on. Then I asked how many real teams there were, and they said 3 or 4. And I'm like, so this is really hard. This is not easy. Like, you don't wait. Again, LeBron made it easy. It'll never be easy again. That's it. The Knicks were down 2-1. Their fan base wanted Mike Brown fired. And over the last year, they wanted Karl Anthony Towns traded. They thought the Anunoby deal was a totally botched.
And their team didn't quit.
Right. And how do they feel today? But it shows you how hard this is and how things can change. And if you're telling me that trading for Giannis or making a big pivot in the offseason to get better, fans are just going to be nonplussed, then I don't know how to talk to those fans.
No,
I don't know what to say to those fans.
Well,
we are not ever going to enjoy the same things in life.
To that group, it's fine. But I think that you make the perfect argument for me when you bring up Knicks fans. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of Knicks fans who just go, yeah, I said what I said, and I hold them to a high standard, and that's it. And I think a lot of Cavs fans, I think a lot of hardcore Cavs fans, guys that you know who know ball, are sitting there going, yeah, I hold them to a higher standard. I've seen greatness with this team, and I understand that none of these players are LeBron James, but they could certainly go out there. And I just think that the day after losing by 37 to close out a series in a sweep, maybe not the best day to call out all the fans.
Holding them to a higher standard, like, I'm going to wave the magic wand, be better. I want my team to be better. No, they have to now make moves to get better. That is likely what is going to have to happen. And what I'm saying
they're almost out of moves, and I have to get
I'm telling you, they are not out of moves.
Okay, but you have to get Giannis to agree to it, and none of us believe that Giannis really wants to be here.
I don't know.
Do you believe that Giannis wants to be here? Do you think that Giannis wants to be here?
Do I think he wants to be on a much better team than the Milwaukee Bucks?
Do you think that Giannis wants to be?
Yes, I do.
And there's other opportunities.
Yes, I think he would rather be. I think he would rather be.
You know damn well there's other opportunities.
I think he would rather be in Cleveland than Milwaukee.
Do you think
where they won 32 games last year?
You think he'd rather be in Cleveland, or you think that he would get another opportunity in a bigger city and a bigger market of what he wants?
Does he have a better chance to win a title?
Okay. I'm just asking.
I'm asking you. Does he?
I don't know if he has a better chance to win a title.
Maybe the team.
But when I was reading throughout this entire process before that he wanted to be with the New York Knicks, well, I can't put the Knicks out there anymore. I can't put the Knicks out there anymore. So the only place he could possibly be traded is the Cleveland Cavaliers. The only place he could be traded is the Cleveland Cavaliers.
No, I didn't say that.
Okay. So what are you trying to say?
I said I think he'd be much happier in Cleveland than Milwaukee.
All right, then what do you do if he says no? Then what are you going to do?
I think they should fold the franchise and move because fans will be nonplussed, according to Ken Carman.
That's one way we go.
Ken said there's nothing they can do.
That's typical.
That's not going to get fans excited.
It's like I'm talking to
because
Deb
fans
Carman
are not getting excited, we should just give up, sell the team,
everybody.
move them to Seattle.
The Cavs lost by 37, and dear mother has returned.
Let's get behind the WNBA team.
If there's one little disagreement, well, let's just fold in everything and burn the house down.
That's kind of what it sounded like. That's what you've said.
Oh, my God.
You said the Cavs can't get better, and even trying to get better.
Fold the franchise.
Here's what Ken has said.
Did not once say to fold the franchise.
Let's go. Okay, you didn't say that. Let's go through what Ken has said. What? Ken has said there's nothing the Cavs could do to get better. They're out of moves.
No,
and
they would be better.
Hold on, I'm going over what you've said.
They would be better.
And if they tried to get Giannis, fans would be nonplussed.
That's not. I said you're
back.
You're not going to get the reaction.
You guys can see it on YouTube or on Odyssey.
You can because you'll understand where I'm coming from. Where I said you're not.
Literally, these are things you've said today.
I said you are not. No, that's not literally what I said.
Yes.
I said you're not going to get the reaction you want. Second, you can't tell me Giannis would sign to a trade here, that he would agree to it. You've never said it. You don't even believe it in your heart. Don't lie to me and lie to yourself and lie to all the listeners. You don't believe that Giannis would accept a trade here.
Yes, I do.
You believe that?
Yes, I do.
You really believe it?
Yes, I do.
Then why didn't you say it 40 minutes ago?
Yes, I'm telling you. I've told you. I've been talking about Giannis for 2 years. This is not some newfangled thing. Have you been listening to me for 2 years? I've always mentioned Giannis.
To be honest.
Listen, guys, there's a lot of videos of me talking about Giannis. This isn't some new thing I invented.
Why didn't you say that he would accept the trade 2 years ago? 2 years ago.
I wasn't waiting for them to get embarrassed in the Eastern Conference Finals to finally pounce on this statement for the first time in my history. There's a pretty well-documented line of me tweeting about it and saying it on the radio.
I hate that we have to do a commercial break here. All right, I'm going to get to all you guys.
Well, you can go for 1, 2.
We are also giving... Okay, fine. 216-474-0092. Jack and Lorraine, you're first up in the fan. Go.
Okay, here's my analogy as quick as I can do it, guys. We've had the argument about making fun of Steeler fans for being upset for them being in the playoffs every year and wanting to fire Tomlin. We have said here on this radio station that we would love to be in the situation that the Steelers are in compared to the situation that the Browns are in. Well, this is the exact situation that the Cavaliers are in. And to show no enthusiasm for them because they've been there for the last 6 years is ridiculous. Same thing with the Indians. To show no enthusiasm for the Guardians, to show no enthusiasm there is ridiculous. To have teams that are consistently in the playoffs and be upset at them, yes, that's normal, but it makes zero sense. So I agree with Tony.
I think it makes total sense for a guy who's 30-something years old who's seen a team do something incredible before. I'm sorry. Jack, thank you for the call. It's not a fair standard to set. I will try to meet you as halfway as possible. It is unfair, totally unfair to the human element. But that's the reality of it. When you've seen teams accomplish greatness for a long time, when you've seen a team with the greatest player accomplish the ultimate prize, if in the same generation you cannot approach that again, yeah, there's going to be a massive amount of fans out there who say you're wasting my time. And that's not fair, Anthony. I'm just giving you reality here, bud. Don't be chopping my head off when I'm just telling you the truth.
I have no problem with fans.
Sounds like you do have a problem with the truth.
I have no problem with them wanting the team to be better. And what transpired over the last week, I mean, it was humiliating. It was absolutely humiliating. It's why I'm already on. Mentally, I'm already on to the next thing. Because what am I going to do? Sit and dwell on that embarrassment? Like, that was so bad that I don't see how they could come back with Kenny Atkinson. And I don't see how they could come back with that same roster. I have no idea how. That's why mentally I am so checked out on this iteration, even after they won 2 playoff series. There, you want it? There's my honesty.
Guardians, wow, that's strong. Guardians tickets coming up at 8 o'clock, which is just like
maybe if we have any open film.
A couple moments from now. 216-474-0092. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on The Fan. K and K.
you go to this series and we're up 22 and you lose. That's where my head is at. I mean, yeah, I made the conference finals. Woohoo! We had an opportunity, and you give credit where credit's due. They are playing really well, and they hitting some shots. They're hungry, but when you have an opportunity to put your foot on somebody's neck, you have to do it in this league. You have to, otherwise, this is the result. I'm sorry for the city of Cleveland for it to be like this in a sweep. That's ass.
Time to give away some Guardians tickets. Cavs season is over. Time to give away some Guardians tickets. That was Donovan Mitchell, by the way. He can't win these tickets. Actually, I think he can, actually. I just don't think he should try
Probably
to win them.
shouldn't do it right now, Donovan.
Yeah. Caller 8-216-343-0923. 216-343-0923. Caller 8-216-343-0923. Your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets to see the Guardians take on Boston Sunday, May 31st, 1:40 p.m. at Progressive Field. It's all courtesy of your Cleveland Guardians and Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan. Again, caller 8-216-343-0923. Be caller 8, you win the tickets. Curtis also brought us in some jerseys. I can't fit in mine, but either way. Austin Hedges.
Hey!
Because they're having a jersey giveaway night coming up. Austin Hedges jersey. Austin Hedges, Tom.
Austin Hedges.
All right, 216-474-0092 is the other number to get in about this. Lima's going through it today, man. You knew that would happen, going through. Now, I didn't know you'd be going through it like this because you've gone all over the gamut today. Where, and I mean, because there's times, guys, where, like, yeah, they go out there and they had a game. What was the game earlier this year where I came back and it was a Monday and I just went nuts on them? Like, yeah, every now and then at 6 a.m., it's going to be fire and brimstone. A lot of times there's a Browns Monday where I will be red in the face, bursting blood vessels, losing my voice. Rarely does it happen with the Guardians because I'm always just so happy they got as far as they did in the first place. But that's a different conversation. It was an embarrassing run over these last couple of days. And it was an embarrassing performance last night. It's not the worst I've ever seen. I don't mean to beat up.
It was one of the worst.
It was bad, but I don't want to sit there. Put it in the proper context. Like, I don't want to beat up on our buddy Fontana or anything like that. I like Matt, all right? But I think he says this is as embarrassed as he's ever been of a Cleveland sports team. It's like, buddy, we had a coach have to walk out in the ocean after going 0-16, and then his drawers came off, basically.
No,
while he was in not the ocean, in the lake.
Freshwater.
It was freshwater. Yeah, he had to walk into the freshwater seas of the Great Lakes, and even then, he hung a bare ass for everybody to see. Like, it was like Barney Gumble when the diaper comes off when he's trying to do that. Like, that's how bad it was. So let's keep it in proper context here. It's a terrible loss. It's a terrible sweep. It still happened in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, I'd still like to accomplish something, and this is an accomplishment in so many ways. All right.
I wouldn't put a banner up, though, but...
That being pointed... No, let's not do the Jim Irsay RIP. Let's not be putting banners up of this. But let's keep it in proper context here. I think a lot of people just think that they're stuck. And it ain't going to get much better than this. And you could give me all the trades you want to for Giannis. I got to get Giannis to agree to it. I don't know if Giannis is going to agree to it. Now, maybe Jimmy can talk him into it. I know they rotate controlling interest to that organization for whatever reason. And the bottle spun, and
it's a bad month to have it.
Jimmy's the one in charge of that organization over there, so hopefully he and Miles can work. That's why Miles hasn't been coming to OTAs and everything like that. He's got to get something worked out with Jimmy so we can get Giannis, for crying out loud here. He's part owner of the Cavs.
Oh, that's crazy to think about.
When you go to any place that's better than just the regular season, it comes with expectations. And my explanation for it is the first time we went here, man, I remember I watched that second play-in game against, was it Indiana?
Atlanta?
No, it was Atlanta. You're right. And I remember seeing, like, that's how much I didn't care. Like, I was just happy. I'm like, we're on the right track. I'm happy to be there. I was in Midway Airport, getting ready to fly home. And I'm just like, I'm happy to be here. I don't care what happens. This is great. We're on our way. This team, you could see talent. Yeah, that was 5 years ago. And things change. Like, I bring up the Bills every time. You talk to a lot of Bills fans, there's a lot of, I don't know if they're going to get over it. I don't know if they're going to get over it. Like, the history plays in. The team that lost 4 Super Bowls in a row, that plays in. Like, that starts to mess with people. And then there's teams that have accomplished much. And, yeah, you could say they're spoiled, but they hold them they hold them to that account. Like, I guarantee if you and I were on, we own WEEI out there, right? Not the other one. Okay, if you and I were on WEEI, And just going to the Super Bowl and losing in the Super Bowl isn't enough for the Patriots after what they've accomplished over the last 2 decades. It's not enough. And that seems to be ridiculous in our standpoint, but that's how they feel. That's how we feel with the Cavs. It's not enough just to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. So while I won't back down from where they were before and say, yeah, it ends up being a more successful season because they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, it don't make anybody feel better, especially the day after they lose by 37.
So the NBA is very tough because what would you say out of the 30 teams in the league, the Cavs are probably they're the top. Like if they were in the Western Conference, we'd be having a different discussion. But they're probably the 5th or 6th best team in the NBA. Okay, I'd put them in that range
altogether.
5th or 6th best team in the NBA, and
they're not better than Denver. Okay, I'm just asking.
Yeah, I think we're splitting hairs when it comes to. I'd probably pick Minnesota over them.
Oh, okay.
But whatever. So they're in that grouping.
All right, fine.
Generally. Yeah. And what's really tough about
there's at least 25 teams worse.
There are 25. It's certainly 20 teams that would die to be in the Cavs spot right now. And that is the perspective that we're not going to have on a day where they get humiliated. And the further along you get in this sport, and this is what's different about the NBA compared to baseball and the NFL, we don't spend all offseason talking about how much the Baltimore Ravens or the Buffalo Bills should be humiliated about their existence. The NBA, we do this. The further along you get, look at James Harden's career, for instance. James Harden is going to the Hall of Fame. He is going to go down in history as one of the best 40 players to ever play the game, maybe 35 to ever play the game. He's going to have all these great numbers. He actually has a ton of good playoff games, too. Yet, they treat James Harden as if he is subhuman and not able to compete on an NBA basketball floor. Because we do that in the NBA. We don't do that in baseball. When you lose in the World Series or you finish in the Final Four, we don't crack jokes at you the whole offseason the way we do in the NBA.
We do a little bit in the NFL.
A little bit, and they're doing it more because of the first take attitude of championships or bust. But Josh Allen does not walk around. We're not humiliated for him.
No.
For not getting over
not
the
Lamar.
hump.
Not Lamar either. We don't call Lamar a giant bust, even though like James Harden has been one of the great players in this generation of the NBA, but because of what he hasn't accomplished in the postseason, that follows him around. Now it will follow Josh Allen around, and it will follow Lamar Jackson around if they don't get it going, but it's not going to follow him around the same way. There's still a reverence. There's still a respect. It seems that James Harden is just completely disrespected. Yeah. It really is. Like, he is easily the most made fun of great player I think I've ever seen.
When I think he has been over the last...
and I've participated in the jokes as well.
Over the last 15 years, he's better than 97% of the league.
That is true.
Where do we do that in sports?
We don't very much do it often.
Okay, Mike Trout... but people don't ever really lay it at his doorstep. That it's a team game in baseball. We don't rip on Mike Trout every day. Jose Ramirez has had terrible playoffs. Has not been good in the playoffs, but nobody's humiliated for him. We don't say that guy sucks in the postseason.
No, we don't. 216-474-0092. But that's their league. That's their sport. It's what it is. And we went and we traded for a guy. It was the only guy you could really trade for to get any sort of obscene value back for Darius Garland. I thought it was the best they could have got. But he does come with...
it's not good enough.
Those thoughts.
Right?
And it ain't good enough. And he's not good enough. And I still don't know what other... I mean, you could talk me up and down about Giannis. You have to talk me into believing Giannis would accept it. If Giannis would accept it, then fine, let's talk it. When it comes to you-know-who, I'd like to bring that up coming up at 8:22 about you-know-who. Because we're trying to look for ways to get better. Because it's just not time. It's not time picks-wise. It's not time where their franchise is. It might be time to let go of Kenny. As Lima said, and we're not making a big enough deal about that, by noon today, Lima thinks he could end up being gone. So you got to listen to the fan all day long, or you obviously shall be lost. I mean, you'll find out eventually that Kenny Atkinson got fired if he gets fired, but you want to be the first to find out. That's why you want to be here. You can make that change. I'm still not sure how much of a great big change that's going to be. We can make some changes, but to me, it's not time to break it all up and go back to Helltown the way it was before. So as frustrating as this is, and I think that's where a lot of Cavs fans are, they just think that we are stuck. And we've seen greatness before, so if you're stuck, well, maybe it's not their favorite sport, so maybe they're just not going to care. which is terrible, but true. Terrible to admit, I should say. Let me get to Sue in South Carolina. You're next up with the Fan. Go ahead, Sue.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Enough of this. Let's bail Donovan Mitchell out. Bottom line, Jaylen Brown in Boston and went by him like he's standing still. Last year, Halliburton went by him like he's standing still. This year, Cade Cunningham, with a little bit more help, will be far past Donovan Mitchell, and we can't keep firing coaches. It's him.
What are we going to do?
He never was better than Brown.
Who are we going to get?
I don't know. We got to get a pick or something, some three-way type of trade, but
I'll just three-way it. When in doubt, you just three-way the trade. That's what we do.
Three-way for a pick, man. We got a three-way for a pick, man. But Anthony's been on a heater, man. You know, you got to, we'll see what's going on, man. But that's all I got. That's all I got.
Well, I got to admit, that's not much, friend. 216-474-0092. All right, you ready to talk about bringing you-know-who back?
Oh, Kenny, it's what I woke up in the middle of the night thinking about.
Speaking of Donovan, he's not ready to have the conversation, but we sure as hell are. Ken Carman, Tone Master General, live on the Fan.
Anthony Lima.
We just ended the game, Joe.
I don't know when I'll see you.
That is not for me. I'm not trying to get a headline. That's not for me. I'm not going to answer that. That's not for me. That's a Kobe Altman question. That's a Mike Gansey question. Because I know no matter what I say, no matter how I say it and how I try to navigate it, it's going to be a thing. So, sorry, Joe. I'm not going to give you anything. You have to ask Kobe and them.
That's Donovan Mitchell's answer on LeBron James coming back and whether or not he would like LeBron James to come back. Brian Geltzeiler, he will join us coming up at 9 o'clock, host SiriusXM NBA Radio, also NBA TV. He thinks the Cavs should blow it up. I don't know how he intends on doing such a thing, but he thinks the Cavs should blow it up, so I want to ask him about that coming up at 9 o'clock and whether or not, if they don't blow it up, that I don't think they should, not yet anyway, and also about LeBron possibly coming back there. There was no good answer Donovan could give, so that was probably actually the best answer Donovan could give because it gives us something that we can actually play on the radio and kind of chuckle at because he's right, he can't answer that. No matter what he says, it's going to be stuffed into a box there.
In this league, the way these guys communicate behind the scenes, like it's hard to know what's real. It's hard to know.
Oh, yeah.
But, we learned forever, once the players kind of took the lead in this league with the player empowerment stuff, although the league prevents a lot of it now because of just the cap rules, the cap restrictions. Even though I would go so far as to say the league doesn't need to protect against it anymore. Like, you got to have 5 guys on the floor at all times that are not liabilities on one end or the other. Like, you have to have so many guys that can do a lot of things compared to, that era. You just needed 2.5, 3 superstars and role players. Now that doesn't get it done. Like, that might not be good enough. So I think the league could probably ease up on a lot of that stuff. We've also had 7 different champions in 7 years. We might be on the verge of 8 champions in 8 years.
Well, hearing what he said, I don't think they have to. They're not as emotional. I mean, Donovan has gotten a lot of things done without telling anybody here, without having to tell anybody here. They both gave their support. He and James Harden, that both. He and James Harden gave their support to Kenny Atkinson staying. You could go ahead and you could always say, you could choose to believe him if you want, or you could always choose not to because they're not as easy to read when it comes to this stuff as other. Like when Lamar Jackson was asked about John Harbaugh after that game, like Lamar Jackson was basically outwardly like, fire him now. You're not going to get that from Donovan. You're not going to get that from many guys. Not in the NBA. They're different. So he could say whatever he wants to about Kenny Atkinson. It still doesn't matter. Kenny Atkinson could be gone by this afternoon.
We've done something that we haven't done since 2018, and we're still going. Like, there's going to be criticism everywhere. Like, we're on Kenny, right? But why? We got here. Like, some people, not saying Kenny or us believe, but some people consider this like, oh, this is great. We did it, but we did it with Kenny. We didn't just go out there and coach ourselves, right? So then people are going to be people. People probably criticize me just as much and James but I love Kenny. We love Kenny. We ride with Kenny, and ultimately that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, they can fire Kenny this afternoon, and I don't think it's going to make a damn bit of difference to him.
Yeah,
frankly.
that's I mean, typically that's how this works, especially in that league.
Yeah. And I mean, at one point at 17 and 16, we heard the rumors like crazy and everything like that. So like, you can't bleep a bleeper, buddy. Like it could end up going down today. And if it does go down today, Kenny's done himself no favors with his messaging to the fans and through that to the ownership. I mean, good God, it seems like every chance he's got this postseason, and it hasn't been obviously every press conference, but it just seems like he just keeps sticking his foot in his mouth.
Well, and what's the identity of the Kenny Atkinson Cavs?
Do you have an answer? I don't have an answer. Struggling to figure out who they are is their identity.
And a lot of that...
Their identity is identity crisis.
Over the last 2 weeks has changed.
Yeah.
Because the identity right now is an underachieving team that blows games.
And I think for a lot of fans, this is part of the frustration as well, is we keep wanting to put an identifier on them, a positive one, and you just can't. I mean, the way they played, and when they came back, I mean, they're down by 9 with 3 minutes left to go against Detroit. They come back, they win that basketball game.
No one remembers that game.
They've criticized the timeout usage for how long now? It wasn't just this series or Detroit. In Toronto, there was criticism of it.
And there's not just one, but you want to get a guy to get a team to play a certain way. And maybe it's a bygone era. There was a Bill Fitch way of doing things. Well, Bill Fitch has passed away, and that was a long time ago. So maybe we're looking for something that ain't there. But, man, you want to have a calling card for a team, and you just don't really have one. You're begging them.
I want to play some audio for you. It's about a minute long, but it's Kenny after the game, and Joe Vardon was there, and Joe asked a lot of the hard questions last night. And it seemed like after the Detroit series and Dan Gilbert came and ate dinner with him before Game 7 and all that, and there seemed to have been some goodwill built up with Kenny from Dan. Joe Vardon asked this last night. I thought it was an interesting exchange.
Okay.
If I hit the button.
You okay?
There was so much goodwill after Game 7, and then this series was tough. Do you get any sense that any of that has changed as far as the goodwill?
Goodwill in what sense?
Just from
the fans, from the public, from
not the
like from
fans or
media, like what?
No, I mean more like from Dan and between the coaching staff and the front office and just all the good stuff that was happening 2 weeks ago.
I mean, listen, you're disappointed. I mean, everybody's disappointed, right? But I think in these situations, you got to take a step back. I think we do a really good job as an organization. You got to look globally. How does this season go? And again, I wish it's hard for me to sit up here and speak for someone that's not here. What you're asking is pretty difficult. I would just say from a player and coach's perspective, being with that group in there, like pretty darn proud of what we did. And that for me, from a coach's side, that's my intimate relationship with the players. Yeah, I think a lot of goodwill, a lot of good feelings.
He used the term proud. It doesn't feel like anybody's proud today.
No, it doesn't.
Even me.
No, it doesn't.
Waving the pom-poms throughout.
No, it
doesn't. Did it ever sound like I was proud that they got here? I mean,
no, it doesn't.
I had my issues with how fans characterize some of this, but proud is not one of the adjectives I use to describe
They just didn't look like they had any fight after the fourth quarter of Game 1. There was no other point in this series. Had they put up any fight after that at all, maybe you could have a sense of pride. There can't be any pride in this team today.
And the reason why people would want LeBron back, bringing it back to that question, Donovan's asked about it. At least you had an identity. The identity is LeBron, but that's the identity. Here, we're still finding one. And my most frustrating experience, not just losing by 37, I mean, that's frustrating all in its own right and getting swept. Some of the most frustrating stuff is that when you think you got them nailed down, one way or the other, whether it be good or bad, when you think you got them nailed down, there's just this new thing that happens, and you're like, how do I explain this? What is the explanation for that? And it's still this team that is building, somehow, some way is still building, and you're thinking, what are they building toward? And even if they get it, quote unquote, built to where it is, are they going to be tough enough, or are they willing to pay the fiddler for it? And some of this stuff I'd like to say is totally knocked down. But when you go out there, like I was puffing out my chest, tough talking after they came back from that deficit against Detroit, and I thought they slayed that demon. They went out and embarrassed themselves in Game 6. Then they went out and they won in Game 7. It's like, all right, they can prove they're tough. I know that these are tough series, but then you lay down like a dog in Game 4. And I could, they're tired and all this stuff. Well, you have plenty of time to rest now. And plenty of time to think about the New York Knicks fans who are doing the chants. I mean, you can hear the Knicks fans in the background. I was listening to the warm-up show today. You can hear the Knicks fans in the background while Kenny was talking. They were walking through the hallways back there because it's right next to the hallway. So there had to be some high-rolling Knicks fans, probably Ben Stiller still walking around or something.
Right outside of that spot.
And you had a Let's Go Knicks chant going on. You got all these people out here on the street losing their minds. You had a handful of people, 24 people standing out there at the mall for this watch party that they have. I mean, it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. And I think a lot of people's first reaction is to tear the thing down. I don't think that's not my first reaction. One, because I don't think that they should yet. Two, I know it's a very difficult thing to do, and what does that look like? It looks almost impossible to do. But that's where Cavs fans are stuck at right now, man. This is a bad, bad feeling. Because even if you do make these moves, say you are able to pull off these pie-in-the-sky moves, I mean, if you're able to bring both LeBron and Giannis here, then maybe that's a different conversation. But you're going to have to give up something, and if we're giving up something, or is it enough to get us over the hump? Because when you make moves for them, we're not just playing patty kinks around here. We got to get to an NBA Finals here this next coming season. And really, even if we don't make a move, we have to get to an NBA Finals here this coming season. And I don't know how you do it.
Coming into the season, James Dolan for the Knicks based on what happened to them. Remember last year, I know nobody here cares about other teams, but last year, and it can be instructive in the NBA, they had an all-time crazy turnaround in their game 1 against the Pacers, similar to what the Pacers did to us in game 2 and what happened to us against the Knicks in game 1. And they end up losing that game. Now, they showed a lot more fight. They went 6 games, but they fired their head coach after getting to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. And then their owner, Adolan, he came in and he said, no, it's finals or bust. Like Mike Brown has to take this team to the finals. And they did, amazingly enough. Mike Brown was able to help them. Now people, and by the way, I like Mike Brown a lot. I was happy for him when he got the job, and I didn't understand how he just is like, again, the way the NBA works, he's like universally scoffed at. A guy that's had great jobs, has I think, accomplished a lot, and gets made fun of, because that's what this league is. We just make fun of everybody. That
you have to coach at a high level to be made fun of at a high level like that.
Yeah.
Most guys don't even remember the other names.
So a year ago, the Knicks fans were so down on their situation. Is there any chance that could be us right now? I know nobody's going to want to feel that way or think that that's possible, but that does happen. Like, there are stages and there are levels, and the Knicks clearly, by the end of it, you could see the Knicks were on another level.
Did James Dolan basically say it was either get to the finals or blow the whole thing up?
He just said they better get to the finals. Like, this is a finals.
Because that's kind of where we are right now. Like, if we don't get to the finals next year, like, that's it. Mm-hmm. And I think but that's part of the reason I think a lot of fans are calling in, well, just blow the thing up now. Well, you really can't.
Yeah, they don't.
And I don't want to advocate for it yet.
And I don't even think. Look, if you traded,
even if you had him, I don't know if I'd advocate for it yet. I don't think I would.
If you traded Donovan Mitchell, like, people think they're going to get this haul, whichever team would be getting Donovan Mitchell, they'd also have to absorb the new contract, right? The $70 million a year for 5 years. Like, are you sure a team's given up a slew of picks and players for that? I don't think his trade value is what it was when we traded for him.
You think Donovan definitely does want to be here, though, right?
I do.
I do, too, because I think that if he goes anywhere else, I think he has to admit to himself that he might not be the straw that stirs the drink on a team, that he has to ride passenger for another one of these teams. And I don't know if he's there yet. At the time that he would be gone, I think that he's admitting to himself that he's going to be the passenger on another team. And plenty of fans, I bet, are there already. We've had a couple of calls like that. It's going to take a guy longer to admit it to himself. Like, because he is the focal point of this team. Like, James Harden's been the focal point of a team before, and then he's given up on it. Donovan is the focal point of this team. And to admit that you can't do it with you as the number one is almost an impossible thing to admit to yourself.
Well, and furthermore, like, it just shows you this league, why it's so different from the other sports. Donovan Mitchell has been regarded by almost everybody as a top 10 player the last 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people, I said that last week, and they're like, no, 11th or 12th. Okay, fine. Top 12, whatever you want to say. And yet, does it look like Donovan Mitchell can be the best player on a championship team?
No.
How hard is it to get a player better than that?
Almost impossible.
Right. So it goes to show you, like, how hard
you have to
this
draft
business
him.
is.
Yeah, you got to draft him and cultivate him and make sure he stays and use these new rules for your advantage to make sure he stays. Like, that's what you have to do. And now that you've done it this way, I just don't have time. I mean, that other alternative, that takes 7 years. You got to be bad enough to put yourself in a position to take that guy. Then you get 6 years to basically work your way up with that guy with other pieces. That's a long period of time, guys.
I hate to say this. Did you see Dan Gilbert over the last month in the wheelchair? Well, with his situation, he's 63 years old. Does that look like a guy who's ready to wait 7 years?
I didn't realize he was in his 60s. No, I don't. But when he first bought the team, I didn't think he was that way, which makes him a great owner and a scary owner in so many ways because you can go out there and make some foolhardy decisions. Some people think that these trades have been foolhardy. I don't. I think that they've been the trades you have to make if you're going to get to some of these places. Like, I question. It's not that I question the draft picks. I just question the impact the draft picks could have had years ago. Well, here we are now after you've moved on from Colin. You've moved on from Darius Garland. Here you are with this team. There's nowhere. The only way out of this is going to be through it, and the only way out of it is to eventually bust up the team. And I don't think that gets done until next offseason. No. 216-474-0092. So the more realistic conversation to have. While fans may want it broken up, they might be angry. The more realistic conversation to have is, A, what do you do with this team here? Do you just get rid of Kenny Atkinson? Is that it? Or can you hold on to Kenny Atkinson? B, whether or not you can bring Giannis in, whether or not he'd agree to something like that. C would be bringing LeBron back. D would be bringing everybody else back, and I don't need to go throughout the internet. 216-474-0092. I'm going to get to you guys on this. We got Brian Geltzeiler. He's going to join us at 9 o'clock, NBA radio, NBA TV. He thinks it should be blown up already. I'm going to ask him why. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live on The Fan. American Platinum Door and Gate. AP Door and
Yeah, it was 4-0, but I don't think we had a chance as far as our best shot from a standpoint of the circumstances. You know, obviously they dominated us 4-0. Yeah, I don't know if I can necessarily answer that question. Just because genuinely I do feel like we are the better team. Series wise, you know, it didn't show it. So.
All right, let's get the phones. I heard him.
Not even worth responding to?
Of all the guys to yell at, I'm not going to yell at that guy. Am I going to yell at him? What do you want me to yell at him for? It wasn't like he didn't try. He tried. I mean, he didn't look like much in game 4, I'll give you that. But, BP and Pepper Pike, you're first up in the fan. Hello.
Hey, guys. Let's hit the rewind button. Back in October of the season, the Cavs were the number 2 favorite, to win the championship after OKC. Now you guys are saying we're the 6th or 7th best team in the NBA. I agree with that. I think this team has regressed. Back when they were 17-16 in December, I was calling for the firing of Kenny Atkinson. I thought Michael Malone, the ex-Denver Nuggets coach, would have been a great replacement. I like his toughness, his pedigree of winning a championship. Now he's went off to the college ranks, so he's off the table. But we'll see what happens with Atkinson. But I think the players all grossly underachieved, especially against the Knicks. So, and I don't like going now flashback to February when Kobe Altman made these trades. At first blush, I did not like either trade. I like DeAndre Hunter. I know Anthony liked him too. It didn't work out, but on paper it should have worked out. This guy was a 6'8", small forward, 6th man of the year candidate, 15 points a game. Well, that's what we missed in this series.
I don't know, real quick, BP, I don't know what happened to DeAndre Hunter, because the DeAndre Hunter we traded for last year, the minute we got him in the regular season and until he injured himself on that dunk, he was awesome. He was exactly the 3-and-D type of play. It wasn't great defense, but he was 3-and-D. And the player we had this year, just the bad body language, it looked like he was dealing with something off the floor. I don't know what happened, because
I agree.
They got rid of him, and then he ended up, I don't know, something with his eye. He missed the rest of the year. But
I know.
Yeah, we're sitting here with no wings still.
If I may, on DeAndre Hunter, I think he lost his confidence because he wanted to be a starter here. Then they, were starting Dean Wade. They were starting Jalen Tyson. Then they were giving Naquan Tomlin a lot of minutes. I think DeAndre Hunter lost his confidence, and he said, you know what, I want to get out of here. And in the NBA, once you raise the white flag, that's it. You're gone. And I think they really missed that 6'8" small forward. And that was and the James Harden trade was crazy. I mean, who trades a 26-year-old for a 36-year-old? I said I didn't like it when it happened. I got into it with Jonathan Peterlin. He loved James Harden. I disagreed.
I think we would have been eliminated in the first round with Darius.
I agree with Tone.
And Harden did bring a level of toughness. He's like a bully, so to speak. He's not liked around the NBA, but still, the NBA is a young man's league. Look at Giannis, SGA, Cade Cunningham, Scotty Barnes. You can't just keep getting older, and you're just going to fall further down the list.
Of course, all those guys got eliminated by the Cavs.
The only thing I got to tell you, go ahead, BP, finish it up. Oh, he's gone. The only thing I could think of that will ever make me take back that trade is if we find out concrete evidence that we could have got so much more if he were involved in another trade this offseason. Like if you wanted to bring up the Giannis thing, would you rather have Giannis or James Harden?
Oh, Giannis.
You'd rather have Giannis. So if we were to find out this offseason, hey, you could have had Giannis, but you can't make A, B, and C work, and Darius Garland could have made that work, then I would go, okay, fine, we'll raise the white flag. It is still my contention that James Harden is the best player you were ever going to get for Darius Garland, and I agree with you. We wouldn't have got out of the first round with Darius Garland.
I wish.
While Darius is a good kid and a good basketball player, he's not what James Harden is. James Harden is just not likable compared to what Darius Garland is. Darius Garland is a very likable young man.
Listen, the day that we first caught wind that they were pursuing James Harden, and we didn't know, we had to ask everybody, is this real? Is this something that could actually go down? And we were deferring to the experts and the insiders on that stuff. I did go over a list of guys I wanted ahead of James. It's just none of them were realistic. You weren't going to get any of the players that I wanted.
It wasn't Harden or nothing. It was Harden is the best you can get. And I just don't think that people understand that. I don't think they want to understand that. even after what has happened, what has transpired. Because to me, I think it's coming from a place of this just doesn't matter to them. They wanted to get back to the finals. The Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2018, one of the three times you did it without LeBron, which, considering you've been around since 1970, is saying something. I don't think that matters. I think where a lot of people were is, can Darius be involved in a trade for somebody better? Then we'll see. Then we'll dust off that book. Or if they didn't feel that way, if they just love Darius that much and they're listening to this, then I just gave you your argument. Because if we do find out later on, well, then obviously I would have to adjust where I'm at on that. Because if you could have got Giannis this summer with Darius Garland, not having to give up too much, well, then, yeah, it changes the entire complexion of everything.
Well, honestly, we're going to look back because, and this would be ironic to say after we just saw Jalen Brunson advance to the NBA Finals, but I've seen, everybody kind of talk around it or write about it, which is the death of the small guard in this league. And I know Jalen Brunson just got to the NBA Finals, and, Donovan Mitchell just got to the Eastern Conference Finals. But there seems to be a selling off of those types of players. You saw it with Trae Young. The scoring for small guard that can't defend their position. They are going the way of the dodo bird in that league. People don't even want to draft those guys. So the Darius Garland trade value, especially when he admits at the end of the year he's playing on 9 toes. Well, he had injured the other great toe on the other foot, and his body is not getting better, guys. So unfortunately, the rest of the league understood that too, and his trade value was depressed. And it wasn't going to get any better.
Well, the athlete that's out there is changing, too. I mean, there was a time where you looked at a guy who was 6'7", and you didn't know what to do with that guy. You'd call that guy a tweener. You didn't know what to do with him. Now,
Oklahoma City builds their whole team out of that.
Everything we could possibly want.
The Spurs built their whole team around that. The Raptors, every player on the roster was 6'7" or 6'8".
Yes.
The Cavs are going out there.
Well, that's the whole... How tall is Dean Wade? I mean, that's the whole reason why you keep giving him chances.
He's the reason. Yeah, I mean, he's 6'9", 6'8", 6'9", but he gave you nothing offensively. And so the Cavs always had some inherent issues with their roster composition.
Steven in Paramount, you're next up on the Fan. Hello, Steven. Steven. Oh, well, that's the end of that. Enzo, the baker in Cleveland, you're next up on the Fan.
Guys, this was probably the most embarrassing playoff series I've ever seen from the Cavs. Like you guys said earlier, Kenny Atkinson got outcoached by Mike Brown. Just the lack of effort we saw after that Game 1 collapse by this team. And I already texted all my friends in the group chat. I'm like, I'm ready for LeBron James to come home, one final run, go all in, win a championship. So I know a lot of my friends are criticizing me on that, but I just look forward to listening to you guys this offseason, hearing about the rumors of LeBron potentially coming home.
Well, Enzo, I mean, it's a possibility. He is absolutely a possibility, and one I won't turn down. I'm just glad you still have friends to have a group chat with. This team was tearing my friends apart. I had a group chat.
Disband.
And last night, it officially broke up last night, and there's no way. I can't do it, Jimmy Carter. I can't put those two parties back together. It ain't going to happen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're just for being part of saying, oh, LeBron's old. He's 41. But you look at his stats this past year, he's averaging, 23, 6, and 7 at 41 years old. Like, who's doing that now at that age?
It would also.
Swap out Dean Wade in this series for LeBron James. Well, yeah, would you still lose to the Knicks? Probably. But damn, if you're telling me that wouldn't have been a massive upgrade.
Well,
come on.
It's LeBron, so and we have a history with LeBron here. Second of all, if you just want pure basketball conversation, for the love of God, what do I do with a guy who's going to be 42 this coming winter? And how often do I play him? How do I make sure that this works during the regular season and this thing can take flight and actually take off next offseason to where he's at his very best, or next postseason to where he's at his very best physically? Oh, and add in that it would probably be a retirement ceremony every single time he goes out there. So there'd be places where he's in the lineup where he might play a little bit, and then they'd have to pull him off the floor.
I'll tell you what it would be.
Because he didn't want to play in that night, but
I'll tell you what it would be. It would probably play 60 of the 82. Right? Season ticket holders will be pumped because they might be able to actually get some value on their tickets. And of those 60 games he played, he'd probably have 30 good games.
Man.
He'd probably have 15 stinkers, and then he'd have 10 throwback games. You're like, holy cow.
You just took 10 seconds to make that whole statement, and I just thought of 4 hours of content right off the top of me with what you were saying right there. That's how interesting it would be. Love it or not, love him or hate him, whatever it is, you can't look away from. 216-474-0092. Coming up at 9 o'clock, which is next, we have Brian Geltzeiler, who joins us from SiriusXM NBA Radio and NBA TV. He quoted on Twitter last night. He said he'd blow this damn thing up. I disagree with Brian. I want to hear his reasons coming up in 5 minutes on The Fan. Classic.
real-time sports news every 20 minutes from the University Hospital's sports desk. We are Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Season ended. Series went to hell. Season over. Do we blow it up? You said no. I said no.
We're fighting over it, though.
How we build? Well, we're fighting over how you build it. How you keep going.
Well, and then, we had a fan fight. We had all that stuff.
Hey, I wasn't the one calling out the fans. You were. There are people who agree with you. There's people who agree.
I always wonder, though, and we'll get to, but sorry, Geltz. Geltz is listening in on this. Brian Geltzeiler.
Well, bring him on.
Sirius Radio.
Bring his ass on. I'm sure he's a good man. I'm sure he'll have a comment on this. So it
led me, it's a weird situation, Brian. Welcome to the show, appearing on the Wise Heart Right, Make It Right, Call Kyle Right hotline. Like, it's weird. We're in the Final Four, but when you get humiliated like that, you feel like you're one of the worst 5 teams in the sport. And so we can't have a rational discussion about it because we're on a Donovan timeline. We don't know if Giannis wants any part of this. Is LeBron going to help out? So what say you as an outsider who also covers the league?
Well, so listen, here's what I'm going to start with. I don't, we talk about them blowing it up or not blowing it up, right, guys? I don't know that the choice lies in them. They're going to put a max contract extension, 5 years, $330 million, in front of Donovan Mitchell at some point sooner rather than later in this offseason. If Donovan Mitchell looks at that contract extension and says, I'm not sure I want to sign that, if he's not going to sign that, you've left yourself without choices. That's the issue. Because if Donovan Mitchell doesn't want to be there, there's no choice but to blow it up. That's the personnel decisions this organization, this team has made is geared towards everything being built around Mitchell. And the last step in that was the Garland-Harden trade. I know people are saying, hey, Garland wouldn't have been healthy this year. Well, he was certainly healthy for the Clippers at the end of the year. Even if all things being equal, even if you're going to tell me Harden was an upgrade in certain ways for the Cavs that the Cavs needed, I probably wouldn't argue with that for this year. You still gave up 26 years old to bring in 36 years old. And there is a universe that if Donovan Mitchell doesn't want to sign that contract extension, the Cavs could have done almost a retool around Mobley and Garland and just built this team a little differently. There's no doubt there's a roster construction issue here, which we can dive into in a minute. But the reality is that now they've left themselves in a spot where if Donovan Mitchell doesn't want to be back, the only really, good young building block they have is Mobley, and then it becomes a decision of do you do something with him because his value is very high with the thought that by the time you get good, he's going to be a little bit older. That's kind of where the Cavs have put themselves. And again, it comes down to the one trade. If the James Harden trade didn't get you to the finals, I hate to put it in these terms, it's a failure. It really is. And so I look at it that way. The Cavs, we talk about what they should do. Mitchell's decision on this extension is going to be the pivot point for them.
Brian Geltzeiler joining us here from SiriusXM NBA Radio. What is the roster construction problem that you see?
Well, okay, I just don't think the two bigs thing, and especially these two bigs, works. I think when you look at what happened against the Knicks here, the Cavs were completely overmatched on the wing. The Knicks bring 3 size wings to you. One really big, really strong, really athletic, and OG Anunoby. Another one that's wiry, long, quick, thin, can shoot in Bridges. And another one that's a little smaller but stout and strong and fast in Josh Hart. And I think when you look at where the Cavs are on the wing, they don't have the athleticism on the wing outside of Jalen Tyson, and I think Jalen Tyson showed us he just wasn't ready to be a major contributor in the playoffs here. When the wings are guys like Merrill, and I love Max Strus, guys. I'm not bagging on Max Strus. Thought he was one of the bright spots for the Cavs in these playoffs. Is he athletic enough over a long series to handle those guys? Maybe, but not alone. And that's where I think the Cavs have a problem. I think the two big thing, and I give Kenny Atkinson credit, he leaned into it, even if it wasn't necessarily what his preference was, because it was what he had to do to put his best players on the floor. But I think that's where the roster construction thing lies. I just don't think these other big wings that teams have, and when you take a look at what Oklahoma City's doing with their big perimeter players and big wings, you look at San Antonio, where they're endless with San Antonio between Champagne Penny and Vassell and Keldon Johnson and Harper's 6'6", and Carter Bryant's 6'6", and Castle, who is only 6'4", but he's a linebacker. Like, when you look at the size that some of these other teams bring at you, Cleveland doesn't have it on the wing. And that's where they're going to have to kind of shift things up a little bit from a roster construction standpoint, get deeper on the perimeter with the understanding that this 2 7-footer thing has not been something that's worked when it's come to advancing in the playoffs, and they've given it, I think, more than an ample opportunity.
Talking to Brian Geltzeiler right now, host on Sirius XM NBA Radio. So, obviously, Donovan Mitchell, you already talked about whether or not he decides to sign an extension. Of course, there's the also part of this where he waits a year so he can sign the full $350 million opportunity over 5 years. That's $70 million per year. If he does stay here, like, he's considered a top 10-ish player in the sport, right, Brian?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yet there is a gap after that, like, top 5 to that next tier. And now you'd have to say Brunson is clearly ahead of him in that realm, unless you'd say, well, that's more about roster. Like, if you would have flipped Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell, what would we be saying about Donovan Mitchell? Maybe you could make that argument.
It's a really fair question and a really good question. And I do think, listen, Jalen Brunson's a small guard. Jalen Brunson just had a fantastic series. And Jalen Brunson's a wonderful player. He also changed his game a little to fit this Knicks personnel in this playoff. And it's been a change that has made him hit a new level. I mean, frankly, Brunson's better right now than he's ever been, mostly because the ball's not in his hands as much. And that's been a big switch the Knicks have made. Here's my point to answer your question. I think Brunson's able to do what he does where Mitchell's not able to achieve what Brunson's achieved because of the roster behind him. I think the roster matters a lot. Karl Towns, to me, has rapidly become one of the most underrated players in the NBA. I don't care what the stat sheet says. He dominated that game last night in a way that no one else did. Brunson has leaned into that instead of resisting it, which he did for last year. Let's face it. As he got to the second half of this year, he started to embrace Towns' strengths more. Donovan Mitchell doesn't have that guy. Evan Mobley maybe could be that guy one day. He's not that guy right now. And more importantly, the Cavs don't use him as that guy. So you kind of look at what Brunson has behind him. OG Anunoby, I mean, I like to call him a muscle wing. Is there anybody closely resembling that on the Cavs roster? I think it's very easy to lay this at Mitchell's feet, but I go back to the roster construction issue. They haven't built the right kind of team to make Donovan Mitchell a viable number one. And you can say, you can make the simple statement of, well, a viable number one shouldn't need the right kind of team around them. I think that's naive. I think you do have to have, especially a smaller guard like Mitchell. And granted, Mitchell is another one who's a linebacker, who's a physical guy, an incredibly skilled player. But to be able to win and advance into the NBA Finals, you're going to need a different kind of roster around Donovan Mitchell. It's not that he's not a number one. He very well can be a number one. It's what's around him that's going to make him the kind of number one that can lead a team to the Finals.
Brian Geltzeiler joining us here on the Wise Heart Right, We Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline. Well, what would you do with Kenny Atkinson? Would you move on from him today?
I wouldn't, but I think they will. And I don't love the decision. Listen, Kenny's an excellent coach. I know he made a statement the other day regarding analytics, and it was a very convoluted way of saying they're making contested shots and we're missing open ones. Because, yes, the expected value of what they were getting, they just weren't hitting good shots, and that happens. Kenny decided to make it a little bit more technical, and he got fried over it. Listen, I don't love the fact that you had guys not running back on defense last night. I think some of that's an indictment of Kenny. I think Kenny got caught a little deer in the headlights down the stretch of game one, and I think it really, really hurt the Cavaliers very badly. With all that said, Kenny just took a team further than any Cavs team's gotten without LeBron James. And I think that at one point or another here, listen, the last coach the Cavs disposed of, J.B. Bickerstaff's done a heck of a good job in Detroit and helped turn that thing around. I think you have to be really, really careful what you're going to do if you fire a good, accomplished coach like Kenny Atkinson and not let him grow with a group. Now, again, if you're going to do a complete directional shift, maybe that's something they want to do. Again, I think think they're going to fire him. I don't think they should. I like Kenny. And again, it was not his best foot forward here in this series. He didn't do a wonderful job. This was a Cavs team that played with their food. And I tell you, a lot of things I heard in the postgame last night from the Cavs, I rolled my eyes at. One thing I did not roll my eyes at, which is the fact that the Cavs squandered opportunities to close out series in 2 consecutive game sixes. And those 2 extra games wore on them and made them a tired team entering a conference championship. Now, again, maybe they would have been a tired team anyway. They would have been a little bit of a less tired team. But potentially this series changed when they blew a 22-point lead with 7 minutes left in game 1. You were never recovering from that. Not ever. The Knicks didn't recover from it last year in the Indiana series. You just don't recover from that. You can make a fair case that if they play 2 less games to get to the conference finals, they have a little more gas in the tank to finish that one. So, again, I look at all those things. I'd keep Kenny. I like Kenny a lot as a coach. I think he's dynamic. I think he's smart. I think he's a guy that players relate to. With all that said, I think the Cavs have shown you there's not a lot of patience left with this group, and I think they could end up very well pulling the plug on Kenny.
Brian, the Cavs already did a bit of a pivot from their traditional core when they moved on from Garland to match the Donovan Mitchell window. Do they need to think about seriously doing that with Evan Mobley? Because I do think Mobley has big-time value. We've been debating whether or not Giannis would even waive a no trade, would want any part of coming to Cleveland. But you couldn't deny that Cleveland would be a much better opportunity for Giannis than, say, the Miami Heat or staying with Milwaukee.
Let's be very clear, guys. Giannis does not have a no-trade clause. Where Giannis's power lies and being dealt is that he's 1 year away from his contract expiring. So if Giannis tells you he doesn't want to sign an extension with you, then you have him as a rental. And that's where Giannis has his power, and I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah, thank you.
Here's the thing. Listen, I wouldn't kill the Cavs if they went ahead and did something with Evan Mobley for Giannis because, you've leaned into the now direction. That's where you're going. If you're going to keep James Harden for next year, it makes a very interesting threesome there. The problem that I have with the Cavs is that the Milwaukee Bucks don't have draft picks. Any deal they make, as much as, yes, they're going to want a really good player, and Mobley is a terrific player that Milwaukee could build around, but let's just say we talk about the Cavs keeping Mobley if they blow it up. The Bucks run into the same kind of situation if you can't get draft picks. And the Cavs just don't have a ton of picks to put in deals. They're still giving picks for the Donovan Mitchell deal. So, for the Cavs, they're not loaded with picks to be able to furnish Milwaukee with, which means Milwaukee's going to look at other places to other teams. Here's my point. Giannis makes a nice story for the Cavs. I question severely if they can get him. That's the thing. That's the hard part. I get it. Listen, I understand why you would want to lean in. He's 31 years old, and I would say probably his next 2 years will be his best years that he's going to have left. And you'll have James Harden there as a 36 going into a 37-year-old player. He won't have to be relied on as much. Of course, there's Donovan Mitchell. They can put some pieces around those guys. I get all that. The problem is that if you don't have draft picks for the Milwaukee Bucks, the thing has happened here, and it's what the Bucks anticipated at the trade deadline when they held Giannis. They knew there was going to be a plethora of teams that feel like they've underachieved. And now you've had a couple teams enter Giannis sweepstakes that maybe wouldn't have been there otherwise if they had more success. Cleveland is one of them. Houston is one of them. And quite frankly, if Oklahoma City flames out in this series, they could end up being one of them. It's going to be a robust market. And the difference between teams like Houston and Oklahoma City, if they decide they want to go bid on Giannis, they have all the draft capital in the world to be able to offer the Milwaukee Bucks. The Cavs don't have that. And I think that's where kind of some of this blows up. Yes, you may want to get in the Giannis sweepstakes, and I think the Cavs will want to be involved. In the end, I just don't know that they have the draft capital to be able to bring them in.
Brian Geltzeiler joining us, NBA Radio on Sirius XM, NBA Radio, also NBA TV. LeBron, should we get him? Can we get him? Would he want to come back?
I have a tough time believing he'd want to come back. And I don't say that to denigrate the city of Cleveland, the fans of Cleveland, or the Cavaliers organization, because I think all three of those would be very, very welcoming, and it will be a wonderful story for LeBron to come back. But I think we all have to be a little realistic about LeBron James as a 41-year-old man and where his life is and what his life entails. It's in L.A. It's in California. His business operations are in California. His wife is in California. LeBron's already stated publicly that one of the downsides of his long career is the lack of time he's gotten to spend with his wife over time, and that's something he wants to make up for. We certainly see him a lot on social media now, playing a lot of golf in a lot of gorgeous weather. To me, I think if LeBron's going to leave the Lakers, it's going to be either the Clippers or the Warriors. I think he stays in California. I really do. And I think for the Cavs, listen, if you could get him on a league minimum deal, well, duh, you'd go ahead and grab him. Even if you could find the right kind of contract, even if you would swap out a Jared Allen for him and pay him $30 million, that's something I would strongly consider if I were the Cavs. But he's got to want to be there, and that's the thing. And listen, I don't think he would want to be disrespectful to Cleveland, the Cavs fans, the organization, anything like that, because he's a native son. He brought a title there. He loved being there, and it was a wonderful part of his career. Is that a part of his career that he's going to want to go back to right now? And from everything I hear and everything I understand, I severely doubt it. I'm not saying it can't happen. I just think that when we look at it through this lens, it's more than just a basketball lens, guys. It's a lifestyle decision for LeBron James, and I see a guy and hear about a guy that's way too happy in his life and his lifestyle to uproot it all to come back to a place where he already won.
Brian Geltzeiler, follow him on Twitter at BGeltzNBA. Oh, go ahead.
I should ask Brian, now that the Knicks have put together the most impressive 10-game run in the history of the sport, and that's not me exaggerating by the numbers, it actually is. Come on, Kenny and the Cavs, they look at the numbers like crazy. So with all that said, do they actually have a shot now in the NBA Finals? Because I didn't think so a month ago, but they don't miss. I can't remember a team like Landry Shamet turned into Klay Thompson overnight.
All right, so let's start with this, okay? Here's how I'm gonna start with the answer to this question is that the Knicks, and I'm not looking to pour cold water or anything the Knicks accomplished, and I'll get to that in a minute. They did have a very easy road here. They really did. Atlanta wasn't ready to be there. Philly was completely and entirely compromised coming out of that Boston series, and the Knicks did a super job at taking care of a compromised version of Embiid, and the Cavs were exhausted in this series. I thought the Knicks played three tougher teams last year in the first round against Detroit, Boston, and then Indiana. So it has been an easy road. With all that said, I think the Knicks have a legitimate shot to win an NBA title. What you've seen happen with the Knicks is they have caught that sweet spot where unselfishness and discipline meet. And what has happened is that you had a coaching staff that made drastic changes on both sides of the ball after Game 3 of the Atlanta series in terms of how they run the offense, with Karl Towns at the elbow and Mitchell Robinson at the elbow being prominent parts as opposed to just a lot of Brunson ISO. Think about how many possessions you watched in this series, guys, where Jalen Brunson stopped bringing the ball up. They moved Brunson to be as much of an off-ball player as much of an on-ball player, and that's one of the reasons he doesn't look tired at the end of games anymore. He has been absolutely lethal. Defensively, they just stopped switching so much. They're switching here and there when they have to, but they're maintaining command over their own matchups. And it really was a huge factor in this Cleveland series. Mike Brown has gotten this group to buy in with him. I give Rick Brunson a tremendous amount of credit because the hardest part of getting them to buy in, and no one from the Knicks is going to tell you this, guys, the hardest part of getting them to buy into to playing a new form of offense was getting Jalen Brunson to relinquish the ball out of his hands. His father played a huge role in getting that done. He really did. There was a sideline interaction they had during Game 4 of the Atlanta series that went viral, that from what I understand was Rick pretty much saying, get off the ball, get it out of your hands, stop and trust your other teammates to be able to play off the ball. They did that, and it's worked out fantastically well. Right now, a huge benefit to the Knicks here, besides the fact that they're playing at the highest level you can imagine this group playing at right now and playing together. They don't care who gets shots. They just want good shots, and they're playing fast in a way that we haven't seen them play fast. The fact this OKC San Antonio series could go to 7 games. And OKC right now is down 2 guys who are secondary shot creators for them that they need desperately against high-level competition. That's Jalen Williams and A.J. Mitchell. And you saw them get exposed in Game 4 for that. So guys are getting beaten up there. San Antonio, as well as Fox and Harper played, Fox has got a bad ankle. Harper's got a bad groin. They need both those guys desperately. They're banged up. The further this series goes and the more the Knicks get to rest, what we saw with the Knicks is that rest will hurt you for about a half of one game, and then it helps you the rest of the series. And I think for the next year, getting a compromised team and a not as healthy and a worn-down team, whether it's San Antonio or OKC, is a massive advantage for them going into a final. I give them every chance to win an NBA championship.
Brian, thank you very much for the time. All the best.
My pleasure, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Brian Geltzeiler, SiriusXM NBA Radio. A lot to unpack there as well. Should we keep Kenny Atkinson? Brian said he'd keep him. What do you guys think? Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, and already regretting that Harden trade. Friends, Ken Carman here and Anthony Lima here for the wonderful.
disappointed for the group from a coaching standpoint. Normally you'd say, man, I wish we had player-wise roster. I wish we had this. We didn't have this. I can't say that. Ownership and front office gifted us with a wonderful roster, talented roster. So I feel bad. I feel bad for the group. Because you want to fulfill, your expectation first of all.
This is going straight to hell. Did you hear that in the background? I hope you heard that in the background.
Oh yeah.
This thing's going to hell. It went to hell already. I don't know if it can go even further into hell. I guess we are on Kenny Atkinson watch. Brian Geltzeiler, who was just with us, he thinks they're going to fire him. Lima thinks he could be fired by the end of the day or by noon. That it could be a before lunch firing for old Kenny Atkinson. Would you move on from Kenny?
Oof.
If it got back to you that it was like Donovan or Kenny, yeah.
No, here's what's part of that. I mean, you remember when they hired David Blatt. They hired David Blatt to coach a very different team.
Yeah.
And my question is this the team or is it not the team? Geltzeiler basically said, well, this is your team. Like, he doesn't think you're getting Giannis.
He doesn't think
LeBron's coming back. I just can't fathom a world where Dan Gilbert runs it back.
Well, you might have to if you can't make these moves. You can't make LeBron come back.
No, those moves.
Brian's reasoning for LeBron not coming back. You got it. You can want him back as bad as you want, but that's reasonable reasons. Weird thing to say. That was, it's completely reasonable why he would not come back.
We're going to do LeBron show. We don't have to dwell on LeBron right now.
We'll do LeBron shows. It's coming, yeah.
Until we get a definitive answer either way. They absolutely could end up moving Donovan Mitchell if Donovan doesn't. Let's see how honest Donovan is about the contract extension. Because Donovan can make a lot more money waiting a year to sign it. But what is the communication like between them? The Cavs are going to offer him that initial extension now, which is not the $350, because they can't. They can't even offer him that. He has to wait a year for that. What is Donovan telling them? If Donovan's saying, no, I want to wait a year, if you're the Cavs, you might have to start thinking about, hey, what can we get? That's just how it works. Like, that's part of the open dialogue, with him and his agent. You have to find out. Like, Donovan said all the right things yesterday. That's the first part of this. The second part of this is, what do they feel? What do they think about Evan Mobley and his trajectory? That's an important part of this. Like, I think Evan took a step forward in these playoffs. But judging by what I'm seeing from some fans, they do not. There are other fans who do not think he took a step forward. So if that's the case, I do think people around the league.
That's my fault. That's our fault.
What do you mean?
I've spent years making him out to be better than what he probably is going to be. I'd just be really. When you're comparing him to Kevin Garnett, and that's who we did, it's like, well, this is Evan, and Evan could be just on a fine trajectory to be a great player, but he's not going to be. You and I had a great big knockdown drag out earlier, but he's not Wemby. Not going to be Wemby. So he can't throw a team on his back and make it lift everybody else and make them better yet. He can't do it. Wemby's already done it. He is not. He's still better than a lot of guys that are in his class, around his class. I don't know. It seems to be month to month with the whole Chet Holmgren argument. Scotty Barnes isn't even a comparison anymore.
And by the way, Chet, his stock has gone up and down. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's a month-to-month thing. You see everybody at the end of the finals. Maybe that'll be different. Maybe see somebody in the middle of the season next year. Maybe it'll be different. It goes up and down, and it kind of flips back and forth.
There have been times where I'm like, no, Chet's better than Mobley. And then there have been times recently where I'm like, Mobley's better than Chet.
Yes, absolutely. There's times where you could say either or. If I've said it, there's been days after he had 8 points where I'm like, oh God, Chet Holmgren's better. And then I immediately by the next day I'm like, yeah, maybe I should walk that one back. So because we don't know who we have, he's just not. He could be a really, really, really good player. He's just not going to be that player that I made him out to be, that you made him out to be. I don't think he's going to be that guy. So if he's not going to be that guy that we made him out to be, no, there's going to be plenty of people who just feel like he's a waste of time. He isn't. But they're going to feel he is.
He's still a really, really, really good young player that's considered a top 25 player in the league.
And if you were in a situation,
those are hard to come by.
If you were in a situation, I know I asked you about Kenny. We got to get back to Kenny. But if you were in a situation where it's like, yeah, Giannis is going to go. He wants out. He's not going to play for you. And I know they've done this a million times over the last 3 years, 2 years up in Milwaukee when it comes to Giannis. But if it were like, okay, now's the time where he's got to go. All right, is Evan the best you can get for Giannis? Possibly. Will Giannis then agree to sign an extension here, stay here? I don't know if he would. That's part of the fear that comes with it. So you really speed it up that much. And I think for some people, like I've heard Nick talk about it, and I think he's got a point. I don't totally disagree with him or think he's stupid. He thinks like it'd probably be the equivalent of throwing the baby out with the bathwater here, going, man, you're going so deep into this that there's really no return. I don't think there's a return anyway. Even if you kept Evan, like he might be a guy you build around, or it could be, well, what can we do? We're not going to be able to do much with Evan. Maybe we can get something for Evan. Like that's the conversation that they need to have here over the next calendar year about what they're going to do. Because I still think that next year, I think at the beginning of next season, this team's going to look very similar to what it is right now. I think you'd have a new coach. I think Kenny's probably going to be gone.
So what they're selling, they'd be trying to sell themselves, the fan base, the media. They'd be selling everybody on now you have a full season together.
I would. That'd be my hope. It's not a good sales job, but what else do you have? Like you don't have very many options. I got to get LeBron to want to come back here. And what Brian said, that's sound reasoning. Like why would LeBron want to come back a third time? Have this awkward goodbye. Like, there's a lot of reasons why. Like, there's a million reasons why I'd want LeBron back, and you'd want LeBron back. But why would LeBron? So? There's still a lot going for LeBron if he just stays in LA.
I think it's because he's not beloved there the way he is
isn't beloved there. He is beloved here. That's 100% true.
I do think there is something to be said for, and it's not. He's not like it's not coming here to be the best player on this team. Like he doesn't even want that kind of mileage. Like he seemed just fine to me by the end of the regular season in LA, taking that lesser role. But then when the injuries happened, it became the LeBron show again.
It's also,
and he did throw it back, but he's not capable of doing that night in and night out.
He's not. And I thought when the story came out with the Genie Bus stuff, I thought that, oh gosh, this is it. He's going somewhere else next year, and that's going to be the end of his career. But when they started doing well and they started actually competing, I think that changes some things. Success on the floor can change a lot of people's opinions of each other and how to keep something together and do something like that. Also, frustration on the floor, as we're seeing right now, can have a lot to do with your future, certainly. But their success might mean better for him to stay. So, yeah, I would take him back. I'm just not going to hinge all my hopes and dreams on this coming season based on LeBron coming back or even a trade for Giannis for that matter. I think that as they sit right now, the only big changes you're going to have, the only realistic one I can see is that, you're going to have a different head coach. And I can't defend him after what's happened. I'm not crazy about firing coaches in the first place. I can't defend this. So it's like, okay, fire him. But am I so vehemently against him or vociferous for somebody? No. I mean, you want to bring in somebody else. If you wanted to bring in, somebody brought in Mike Malone, had that conversation before. We're not going to bring him in now. Billy Donovan's a conversation I guess you could have. I'm sure there's another name out there I'm not thinking of right off the top of my head. But is it going to make that big of a difference for you? I'm not sure. 216-474-0092. Like, there's just so much that has to happen, and I do think it starts and finish. I think it starts right now with Kenny, but I really think that's where it's going to finish because there's not very many other moves that you can make. And my sale to everybody out there is that you will have an off season. This thing has to gel. It sucks that they lost by 37. Good God, it's embarrassing. But eventually we got to turn the page and move forward. But I think you're frustrated this year. You're going to be just as frustrated next year because they're going to go to the playoffs again next year. Well, we've really seen it all now. So I don't know what's going to get a Cavs fan hot and bothered. You've won 64 games in a season. You lost in the second round. You've won 10 fewer games, but you ended up going to the Eastern Conference Finals, but you got swept. I don't know what's going to get Cavs fans hot in the shorts this coming year. I have no idea. Other than LeBron coming back, that's it. But I just think that's more of a pipe dream than a real. It's not the most unrealistic thing I've ever heard about the Cavs, certainly, but it's just not that realistic in comparison with what they have right now. I think there's a lot of things that have to be done. All right, I'm going to get to all you guys coming up next. 216-474-0092. Should we keep Kenny? Lima and I can't make an argument to keep him. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima, live in the Fan. Classic. Oh, my goodness. It all starts at driveclassic.com, and then you can go ahead and find exactly what you want. Maybe it's a Mazda. Well, you can get yourself a CX-90, maybe a Nimble CX-5.
windshield wipers. eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love.
Talk sports deep into the Cleveland night. Overtime with Jake Volnick. Weeknights at 7. Sports Radio 92.3 The Fan.
Any news come out yet, Tone? Nothing?
Nothing yet.
All right. We're keeping an eye on things.
Lot of speculation.
It's not noon yet.
Is not.
You said before noon.
I said by noon.
By noon.
So 11:59 would be before noon.
Yep. Anything else you want to get off your chest before we get to the
No,
calls?
I want to hear from the fans. I do. After talking down to them earlier, I do want to hear from them.
You went right after them.
I'm glad you can admit that you were doing that.
Certain members of them.
Who are the certain members? Name names.
Again, I don't have the phone book in front of me. Maybe Charles in North Royalton.
Who the hell's Charles in North Royalton?
Maybe Vince in Cleveland.
John in Seven Hills. Paul in Cleveland. You're next up on the Fan. Hello. Hello, Paul. Goodbye, Paul. Frank in Youngstown. You're next up on the Fan. Hello, Frank.
How you doing, Ken?
Been better, but I've been worse.
Yeah, I feel like we've all been worse, but this really sucks. My main thing, and I know there's so much to talk about, is it coaching or is it effort to get back on defense? I feel like that was the Cavs' biggest problem all postseason is getting back on defense.
Well,
even after last night, I know there's a lot of problems, but is it effort or is it coaching? I mean, so many times, three-pointers were taken and they were getting wide open fast breaks.
Well, it was odd
Everybody,
to me.
Toronto.
Yeah, especially when Atkinson brought it up and numerous times during this series and also at times against Detroit when we were down 0-2 and Detroit was doing the same thing. Like, right. I could sit here and talk fatigue for certain starters, but then the bench players would come in and they would get beat down the floor.
Well, that's yeah.
That's bizarre to me.
That's what I'm saying, Tone. Like, even going back to last night, it's just like, wide open, uncontested fast break points.
They gave up too. They gave up.
I don't know if that's coaching. I don't know if that's effort. I can't even say fatigue. It's just like, I don't know how you're. The possibility is you can go Game 7 in all the series. So it's like, I don't know. I just don't know how big of a factor.
What's so embarrassing is, and I should be screaming this and red-faced and mad why I say this, Frank, and thank you very much for the call. It's that the last game of the series was on Saturday. What yesterday was just a giant watch party for Knicks fans.
Yeah.
Is what that was. It's disgusting to say that. It's embarrassing to say that. It's as upsetting as a lot of things of what we dealt with. It's not the most embarrassed I've ever been as a fan, but it's the more I talk about it, the more embarrassed I am by it because it was just there were so many Knicks fans there. It seemed nobody had faith in them. They didn't have faith in themselves. Anybody who sold their ticket, you can't sit there and tell them that they made a bad investment. If you sold your ticket to a Knicks fan, good God, what are you going to sit there and watch them do that in front of all these Knicks fans? When you were offered the opportunity, say someone offered you on the street, someone offered you $500 for a $100 seat, just using an example. You decided to go ahead and not use that money and then go ahead and go to the game and watch them get blown out by 37 and have a bunch of Knicks fans celebrating in your face? That would have been awful. That would have been absolutely awful. So it ends a season. It ends a season where there was progress made. It doesn't feel like it for a lot of fans. And I think if I say it, I have stopped short of saying, remember, it's a successful season. I've really tried to shy away from that today because it sounds like it's an insult to anybody's intelligence. When you get hammered that badly in a Game 4, where it's like, well, let's take our last breath and at least get it back to New York and then start to, how do you eat a whale? You eat it one bite at a time. How do we start to get back into this? And you go out there and you just get your ass handed to you like that. It's just an insult to everybody.
It looks like there's a clear gap between, where the Knicks are.
And I don't even know if it would have been that way. Like, you could have still got a gentleman's sweep. You still would have won Game 1, and it still would have just been better because you were up by 22. When you lost by 20, when you lost a 22-point lead, and you didn't do anything to help yourself, and guys were down, and then you're just basically walking around by the end of the week because that's what you were doing yesterday. It's just disheartening. Another disheartening way to end the season. Last year was bad. It was explainable. This year, it's explainable, I'm sure, but I think people are tired of explanations. They're looking at them as excuses. It's easy for me to say that right now, less than 24 hours after the loss. Maybe I'll change over the next couple of days, but I think that's the way a lot of fans see it right now, Tone. 216-474-0092. Michael in Akron. Hello, Michael.
Yes, good morning.
Hi.
So here's my idea. You bring back LeBron on a one-year, player-friendly, veteran minimum contract, and also sign him to a 2-year, $100 million coaching contract, and then make him a player coach next year.
I don't think they can do that yet in today's league.
All right, Michael, thanks for
I
the
will
call.
pitch it to the NBA rules committee. We'll see what we can do. Their competition committee.
Who's the last player coach that was in there, that was in the NBA?
Wasn't it
Magic Johnson?
No, wasn't it Bill Russell? Didn't he get a
It was
crack
that
at
long
it?
ago?
Was Dave Cowens in the 1978-79 Celtics.
Is John yelling at you, or is Jeff yelling at you in the background, John?
Not me.
Oh, okay. I thought he was trying to tell you Dave Cowens. Paul in Cleveland. Hello.
Hey, yeah, I don't know. Analytically, we swept the Knicks.
I feel good about that.
Tuesday. I mean, I was kind of like half and half on Kenny, but like between that and like complaining about the Game 7s, it's like, well, maybe if you took care of business and coached and the players didn't give up on you, then maybe you would have been a little fresher for the Eastern Conference Finals. So it's just like the excuses are just going to get worse next year, and it's just like you got to get rid of him because you're probably going to blow it up, and you just got to start fresh and move forward.
Well, you think they'll blow it up this summer? I don't think they will.
They got to do something. Like if they're not going to run it back, then they got to either try to get one of these trades because. Do you really feel comfortable giving Donovan $350 million? I mean,
well, I don't know if he feels comfortable signing the contract right now. Paul, thank you very much for the call. Like he might stick you with the contract, and it's exactly what Lima says. Then you go into this coming season, and you're thinking about ways to possibly unload Donovan if he doesn't sign the contract. Like to me, I don't know how the money adds up with other teams. So he could. I'd like to make the argument he could sign the contract. And then you could still trade the guy. But that's way easier said than done. If he doesn't sign the contract, that's going to be a talking point this entire time. So going into next year, you're going to have intrigue going into next regular season because every game, like if you start out 17-16, it's not about firing Kenny. Like there was a conversation about that. It's not about like the trade for Darius with Darius. It didn't come out of nowhere. You heard a little bit. You heard some rumblings. And then Rich Paul puts it out there for everybody that they were going to get a trade no matter what. But every loss that you have, like if you start off 17-16 next year, it's okay. Are we just holding on to Donovan? Hold on to Donovan. Is it time to break ties here? Like that's what you're going to get. So the ones that are saying you're going to have to blow this up, you might not be blowing it up during the summer. You might be blowing it up during the regular season next year if things don't start off hot. There's a lot of pressure on this team. And one thing that a lot of fans do know about this Cavs team, they have not responded exceedingly well to pressure. Josh and Berea, you're next up on the Fan.
Well, first off, that Brian Galtzeiler, I don't know, I might be butchering his name. I mean, wow, I guess I got to change my name to him because I literally was preaching that for years about the Cavs, but I'm just dumb Josh from Berea. But here's, you know what, not even be negative. Here's the positive thing, guys. Here's what we need to do. We need to crap on the beard. Here's what I mean by that. We need to hope he believes in himself and doesn't opt in on that contract because after this playoff performance, and I got some stats to say what he did in that conference finals, it's hard to believe that he's not going to opt in because I don't see him opting out being a good option, but let's just try and make it untenable here. Mm-hmm. Hopefully he opts out of it because there's some decent free agents. There's some decent free agent point guards who can actually get past.
But that's not how the contract works. But it's not like it frees up a substantial amount of money, Josh, and then you're down a player who can help you in the regular season too. Like you gotta remember, you gotta get through the regular season. Well, you're not playing for an 8 seed. Right, like
do you really?
They were fifth.
Do you really want to see this again? Do you know the Clippers started this year?
First of all,
they had a promising playoff run.
They had the number 1 offensive rating in the NBA in the regular season when he played. They were number 1, so he can help them, and they get eliminated in the first round. if they didn't have him. Like he was a big
Do you
part.
think we're like? I mean, you keep exhausting that point, but
And it's
like,
true.
we also got
And
in a
it's
game
true.
7. I mean, this guy.
And then they played him, Josh. They played him. Hold on. They played him. Hold on. They played him the most minutes of any Cavalier in the playoffs. I would have advised against it. They had him with the number one defensive responsibility against Jalen Brunson in the finals. I would have advised against that. I do not think they used him correctly, but
so
he
you're just
was
saying fire Kenny. Then what you're saying is fire Kenny Atkinson.
And if you listen to the show, Josh, and I know you did, and I appreciate the call, I did say I think he will be fired by noon today. I don't understand his usage. Like, I really don't. Like, I did not think they were trading for a number one option, and at times in these playoffs, James Harden was the number one option. That made no sense to me. I don't know in what world that made sense.
Wish I could tell you. All right. Did you feel any better at all?
No, not at all.
This was not therapeutic. This was not a
fun
therapeutic Monday or Tuesday. It was not that way.
I think it's the beginning of a therapeutic show, though. You're starting to get it out. It takes you 5 stages.
Well, if Kenny gets let go, there's going to be another stage there.
Their offensive rating in the playoffs was better with Harden and without Donovan than it was with Donovan without Harden.
That makes sense.
That was way too much talking.
We're back tomorrow, 6 to 10. For Big Country, for Jeff, for John, for the Slippery Wizard, Anthony Lima. There will be better days. This might not be tomorrow either. But soon enough, there will be better days. I'm Ken Carman. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Take care.
This is the end of my silly little rap. Thank you for paying attention and making sure that you're not booing, but you clap.
Hey,
sounds good. Where's your entourage now? Cool.